A lone girl lies shattered on the ground beside a towering carriage. This is how her story begins. And that's how she wields light magic and reshapes an entire nation. As she lies there bleeding out, panic screams in her chest. She refuses to die yet, and she forces herself to think of a way to get someone to find her before it's too late. She raises her hand with the last scraps of strength and hurls a light spell. But she quickly realizes that little spark won't be enough. She has to pour in way more to make sure anyone can actually see it. Pushing through her breaking point, she blasts a massive flare into the sky and prays anyone nearby spots her, and just like some guy nearby hears the signal, then yells at his crew to tear off and start searching the bottom of the cliff. All right, rewind for a second. Her name is Liliris, and she came into the world as the older twin in a high-ranking noble family. By the time she hit 3, it was game over. Everyone adored her because her magical power was absolutely unreal. But everything flipped the day she turned 8. Her parents switched on her the moment they discovered her magic was the light attribute. Liliris's parents scream that she's a disgrace who belongs in the attic, ordering her to be a servant and treating her like trash, while her little sister gets hitched to the first prince at just 15. Then a year later, Liliaris is smashed in a brutal accident on the road to an arranged marriage. But that's not the end. Then the whole world tilts into a flashback her past life, ending in a lonely death with no one there, like your chest just can't handle it. So she pauses for a split second, trying to make sense of what's happening. Liliris jolts awake in bed, replaying that last vision in her head, desperate to crack what it meant, because something about it still won't let her breathe. A sudden realization slammed into her, and her eyes snapped wide open. She finally snaps into it. Those weird flashes weren't random at all. They were memories from her past life, and she's still staring at the proof. She whips her eyes around the fancy room she's stuck in, and the question hits her, where in the world is she? It's pitch black, so she can't make out a thing. She fires up her light magic, and as the room lights up, she can't believe it. Magic actually works. And the shock hits her. She's not dreaming. She's really alive. Liliris snaps upright in bed, grabs every memory at once, and slowly realizes it all starts to click because she remembers that she was actually headed to marry into a duke's family until she slipped and plummeted off that cliff. Right when she's about to overthink it, a maid bursts in and calls her madam, and suddenly relief floods her face. Martha stands there with tears streaming down her face, telling Liliris that she's finally awake, and she blurts, "Thank goodness," as she grabs Liliris's hands, shaking them just to make sure she's really okay. Liliris just glares back with watery eyes, totally stuck on the thought that the woman's warmth somehow feels real. Martha breaks into a huge grin and warmly ushers her into the Duke of Ashland's estate, like it's official from the start. Then she steps forward and introduces herself like, "I'm the one taking care of you from now on." Liliris practically bursts with excitement over her brand new home until she freezes, because when Martha calls her madam again, the girl freezes, completely thrown off by this brand new title. Liliris furrows her brow, confused as hell, and blurts out, "Who is this madam exactly?" Still totally missing the point. Martha tells everyone that Master Alfred was so smitten at first sight, he didn't even wait. He grabbed the wedding and married right then and there. The maid flashes a bright smile and credits it all to Liliris's charm, but that excuse doesn't actually fix anything. Liliris just freezes there, mouth gaping, stunned out of her mind by the news. She still can't wrap her head around it. Somehow the whole ceremony went down while she was dead asleep, completely out of it. Whoa, smash that like button, then hit subscribe right now for more hidden manga gems. Now go on, I dare you comment. Yo, drop a comment. I'm absolutely loving this, and I bet most of you are feeling it too. If you won't, then forget it, fine. Let's keep going. Her thoughts spin out of control. How in the world can any of this be legal without her signature, the vows, or even those rings being exchanged? Then it hits her the worst of it, and she can't stop wondering if she just lost her first kiss while she was out cold. Which is, honestly, it's a nightmare for her because she's just a normal girl with big dreams for her wedding day. Martha scrambles to dodge the topic, asking how she's doing after getting knocked out for 3 brutal days. Then she whips out a splash of water magic, fills Liliris's glass, and helps her finally catch her breath. The maid thrusts a glass of water into her hands, tells Liliris, "Here you go," and completely blindsides Liliris. The maid admits she barely has any magic, then just tells her to ask anytime she needs a drink. And that's when Liliris starts She gulps the water as fast as she can, then releases this massive sigh of relief, her first drink in 3 days, feeling it pour into her system. As she gazes down into the glass with that calm little smile, she feels it. Those brutal wounds are healed for real, and she can't help but realize how insanely powerful recovery magic actually is. And once he sees she's finally feeling better, the maid rushes back and asks, "So you up for something to eat?" She offers to hunt down something light, something her stomach won't hate. And that's when Lilyrus swings her gaze to the door, then blurts out a quick, heartfelt thank you before anything can slip by. All by herself, Lilyrus starts to claw her memories back. And the moment they return, she realizes just how massive magic is in this whole world. She remembers that some powers are basically gold merchant houses, chase water, and ice mages nonstop because their businesses run on that magic. And while the nobles chase fire magic like it was pure power, soldiers leaned hard on wind magic because it gave them the edge in every fight. In this world, earth magic is a fortress in the making, perfect defense, just what farmers crave. But that's only the beginning of how people get judged. As they stare at the holy attribute, they realize it's a rare healing power everyone worships like it's the biggest deal in the world. But for Lilyrus, the light attribute is seen as a total waste of time, and she's about to prove everyone wrong, and she can't even swing it in a fight. She just stands there, glowing like a walking flashlight, while everyone else handles the chaos. Because of her gift, even her own parents tossed her aside like she was worthless, nothing but dead weight. It turned into a brutal, non-stop grind, always getting measured against her sister, who just happened to be born with that rare holy magic everyone was desperate to get. And then boom, there's her fiancé, Lord Alfred, the Emperor's half-brother, who got shipped off just so the first prince wouldn't cause a fuss. But because he's royalty on paper, his wife had to come from the nobility. So that's why Lilyrus ended up sitting in on the conversation at all. Umiria rubs it in reminding her she should feel lucky to snag even a single match, even if it's with some washed-up duke in some dead, dud-filled territory. So the carriage barrels down the cliffside road, charging straight for the duke's land. That memory slams like a brick. 1 second they're in the carriage. The next it gets blasted clean off the cliffside, and Lilyrus is just relieved to finally be out of that old house. Like, as long as she's getting fed 3 times a day, and no one's treating her like garbage, she figures she's doing just fine. She clenches her fists, hope igniting like a spark, and getting her past life memories back is a huge win. Because now she finally knows exactly what to do. A blazing ball of energy whips to life in her hands, and her magic crackles with pure light. Once she cracks it, it's almost effortless. She just tweaks her mana, and the light swells as big or burns as bright as she wants. And she's finally realized this power isn't worthless like everyone kept insisting. In her old world, light ruled everything, tech ran on it, and videos lived and breathed because of it. Even if she can't use that for her fan stuff here, it's still the kind of power that can shake a whole universe. The maid strides in with a tray in hand, practically glowing with relief, and tells Lilyrus she's so thrilled to finally see her back to her true self. She drops the food on the table and tells him it's nothing fancy, just bread porridge for now with chilled peaches on the side. Lilyrus can't even process how kind everyone's being. One maid just grins and tells her there's even more waiting in the kitchen if she wants second. As Lilyrus takes that first bite, her eyes instantly flood with tears because the flavor is so soft and comforting. And Martha freaks out, calls out to her nonstop, and demands to know if she's okay. Lilyrus wipes her tears away, cracks a tiny smile, and insists, "I'm fine." But you can tell she's just unbelievably relieved to be here. Martha stared at her like she couldn't bear it, her voice full of pity as she said this whole ordeal must have been absolutely terrifying. But she tells Lilyrus, "You're safe now. Just stay close to me." And Lilyrus can only squeeze out a small, quiet thank you. Martha tells her to forget everything and just lock in some real rest for the rest of the day. So Lilyrus lies there, savoring her luck, soft sheets under her, and a sweet maid fussing over her like she's truly cared for. She finally realizes there's no one left to hurt her, and it hits her like the world just cracked open, because her life is starting to look up for real. She can't stop her heart from racing. Everything feels electric, and the excitement hits like a tidal wave. She doesn't even care when they trash talk her power because it's magic, and that's all that matters. Lilyrus sprawls in bed, lost in dreams of what's next, wishing for the day snow falls so she can deck out a massive Christmas tree with a mountain of lights and make it all real because that hope keeps her smiling. It could turn into the go-to hangout for couples. Seriously, she's so pumped she can't even wait for winter. But the real mission is to sniff out the perfect bias, make your heart swoon hard, ideally from someone stacked with serious muscle. Morning sunlight slams into the Duke's massive estate, and for the moment, everything looks weirdly calm. Lilirus launches upward and yells for her status window to pop open, praying for some sweet RPG-style power to kick in. But yeah, this world doesn't look like the kind where things play by the usual rules. Later, she stalks toward the door because her throat's begging for water. But she freezes mid-step when she hears a maid in the hall whisper that the master has finally woken up. The maid sounds totally wrecked, and she practically wails that she can't stop feeling sorry for the master and what he's stuck in right now. She rants about how he's out there, throwing his life on the line, slaughtering monsters for the country. So she can't figure out why he's stuck wrestling with a wife like that, and Lilirus just stands there, utterly frozen in place. In the hallway, one maid snaps at the other. Stop your tears because her husband is still out there, gambling with his life just to keep them safe. And Lilirus just hangs behind the door, soaking up every sound silent as a shadow. And honestly, it's crystal clear to her the maids are just standing around, low-key spitting insults at her like it's their job. She realizes their gripes probably aren't random at all. They're driven by how much they truly care about Lord Alfred, and from the way they talk about him, her new husband sounds like the real deal, like an absolute stand-up guy. The maids keep pushing forward, baffled at how useless the older sister is, while the younger one, Ymiria, unleashes holy magic that makes them on. Lilirus yanked herself away from the door because even in this brand new house, getting compared to her sister was finally too much to take. She collapses onto the bed, buries her face in the pillow, and sobs like, "Why can't I have a favorite character or even a fluffy pet to obsess over right now?" Honestly, she's drowning in loneliness, and all she wants right now is someone to hold her and comfort her. Suddenly, the door bursts open and Martha strides in, greets Lilirus, then immediately blurts out an apology for interrupting. Martha bursts in grinning and tells Lilirus that a letter just arrived from her husband. Maybe it changes everything. It hits Lilirus like a punch to the chest until she opens the message and reads the words, "He'll never love her." Then, Martha just freezes, utterly stunned. The letter spills the truth next. This marriage was nothing but a royal command he couldn't refuse, and he even admits, straight-faced, that he's truly sorry. Turns out, he's basically telling her, hang in there, just power through this for the next 3 years. Lilirus keeps staring at the paper, dead set on the idea that he's basically pushing for a white marriage. Turns out, if 3 years pass with nothing happening, a marriage can be wiped clean, and Alfred's only 20, so he's got all the time in the world to ditch the whole thing, find someone else, and let off some revenge air later. With her grumpy dad and Ymiria always in mind, she's got one conclusion stamped in her chest. She's not going back to her parents' house ever. She decides she'd rather hunt down a job right here on the estate than go back. And she prays Lord Alfred will help her land some work, while Martha just stands there, watching her with worry written all over her face. Martha bursts into tears, insisting there's no way her husband could have penned something like this in the middle of a war, while Lilirus stands there, completely baffled, trying to figure out whether that letter truly came from a situation that insane. She finally starts to grasp what all of this really means. Lilirus can't help but wonder if this whole wedding scheme was really just his twisted way of making these next 3 years drag by faster, and he can't stop thinking it. And then it slams into her. He's doing all of this just for her. She clocks how hard the servants gravitate to him, and in that exact moment, she's like, yeah, he's the real deal. Lilirus stares at the letter, whispers to herself that even if love will never come for her, everything's turning around because she's absolutely glowing because Lord Alfred is finally being thoughtful about her whole situation. She tilts her head up, beams with a grin, and shouts, "Martha!" right on the moment she catches them out. The maid has to choke out the truth after 3 years of marriage with nothing ever happening. She and Alfred are calling it quits and getting a divorce. She's practically buzzing. She declares she'll get 3 full years of freedom in the estate, just to reinvent how she wants to live her life. Lilirus leans in with a huge grin and tells Martha to stop calling her Madam and just call her Lily Ollies instead. But Martha's absolutely wrecked, staring at him like her heart's breaking. And she blurts out, "Are you sure you're okay with a future that ends in divorce?" Lilaris is blazing with rage, yelling that a woman's happiness isn't only about getting married, and then she flashes back to her old life, back when she was nobody but an unpopular otaku, and somehow she was totally happy. The very next day rolls in and Lilaris fires off, "We're heading into town now," leaving Martha completely blindsided. She tells him she has to start planning her life after the divorce, figuring out how to earn her own money and stand on her own 2 feet. Martha just freezes in place, stunned by how tough that girl stays through everything she's thrown. Lilaris doesn't waste a second. She snaps into action to leave. But Martha suddenly panics like, "Are you really going out in those?" Because those clothes were actually Lord Alfred's when he was a little kid, and Lilaris just shrugs it off. They're perfect for moving around. Just then Kai, this boy, strolls in and says he was told to guard the madame, but the second his eyes land on Lilaris, he freezes and demands, "Who's the stranger?" And that sets the whole thing in motion. Leading, Martha raced to fix the mess, then snapped at Kai that this girl isn't what he thinks she's the madam. Kai was utterly thrown off seeing Lilaris in those old clothes because his brain couldn't stop grinding on the fact that she was the madam. The kid stares her up and down, fires off a question, "Does every woman in the royal capital dress like this?" And the sentence trails into a breathy, "Which Lily?" Lilaris goes along with it, cracking jokes as she tells him this is like the absolute peak of high fashion right now. Kai doesn't hesitate for a second. He totally buys her story, says he believes every word, and tells her the outfit is insanely cute. He starts freaking out about how awesome the capital must be, while Lilaris just clocks that the kid is way too sincere, like a sweet puppy that's about to get hurt. Eventually, she finally cracks and admits the whole fashion act was nothing but a lie, and that poor kid gets absolutely wrecked by the shock. But he shakes it off almost immediately, tells her to forget it, and insists they hit the road because he's ready to show her around town. As she trails him, Lilaris clocks it. He's totally blunt, and he feels like the whole group's fluffy mascot. They finally smash through to their destination, and Kai strides in first, shouting that they've made it to the guild. Lilaris pushes through the door, then freezes dead in her tracks, hit by the creepiest gut feeling that someone inside is staring right at her. Lilaris cranes her neck at the guild guy. He clocks her instantly and fires off, "So why are you here anyway?" Like he can't believe she showed up, making everyone freezes for a breath. He just stares her down, and she's left standing there utterly stunned that he knows exactly who she is. He slumps on the counter and asks if she's only here to complain. Then she's completely thrown off and right out. He whips his focus to Kai and demands to know what she's thinking, bringing her here like this. Watching the two of them, Lilaris can't shake the feeling that Kai might be getting interrogated. Then a crazy idea suddenly sparks in her head. She watches them banter and can't shake the feeling. Are they actually together? The energy between them is just too much because to her, this guild guy is the ultimate bossy, arrogant hottie, and while Kai's totally the cute puppy dog type, she's basically losing it because the way they click is just perfect, and she can't stop gushing. She starts giggling to herself, thinking, is that guy just jealous of me? And then she wonders if she can charm them both into becoming her favorites. As Kai keeps pushing himself to talk to the guy, Lilaris just stands there staring, convinced he's the kind of trouble that makes her look like a lover stuck in the middle. The guy behind the counter finally snaps and gives in, but he's still totally baffled. He tells her fine, yet asks why she's dressed like that if she's not coming back to complain. Because the outfit screams wrong place, Lilaris wastes no time. She grins wide and tells him she's not lost at all. She's here to register as an adventurer. The second she finishes the sentence, the guy snaps. He throws his hands over his face and erupts into uncontrollable laughter, while Lilaris just freezes there, utterly lost, and then he pushes through until his eyes start welling up. He can't even process what he's hearing, and he blurts out, "Are you serious about this?" Because he honestly thought her outfit was some kind of joke. Or worse, a direct shot at him. He blurts out whether she's wearing it on purpose. And that's when her wrist starts to shake as doubts flood in. She can't stop wondering if her clothes look that weird. And she's totally clueless about what he's accusing her of when she tries to take a dig at him, but then it cuts off right there, mid-thought. Even the guy's vibe flips instantly. He locks eyes with her and, like it's no big deal, blurts out that he's genuinely obsessed with how she looks. And that one comment absolutely flips Lilaris off the rails. She spirals in her head, freaking out over how smooth that move was. And the second he reaches out to pat her head, her heartbeat goes wild, like screaming inside her chest, because she suddenly realizes she's the kind of girl who'll fall for head pats above everything else. So she rips herself out of it, bolts back, and screams at him to hold up because she's technically married, and she can't be getting all too close to another guy like that. Lilaris starts to spill the truth that she's already married, but Red snaps her story in half. He brushes it off, says forget it, and shuts her down before she can finish. He's not just some guy, he's the guild master. He steps forward, introduces himself as Red, and then offers to escort her straight to the reception desk himself. The papers get filed in a flash, and the receptionist scans them, nodding as she confirms Lilaris has an affinity for light magic. Lilaris just awkwardly goes along with it, But as soon as she speaks, the other adventurers crowd in and start whispering behind her back, swearing it's impossible to be an adventurer with light magic, claiming she'll never find work. And Lilaris hears every single word, and it stings like a blade when they keep calling her power a garbage affinity, just like everyone always did so. She has to toughen up. She clamps her registration papers in her fist, fires up her own resolve, and swears that even petty trash talk won't shake her then. She spots something else inked on the request forms, and a fresh spark of hope flares up in her chest, because it's not just one option anymore. It's actually, the pay might as well be zero. One of the guys pipes up that the reward is just a single copper coin, and it's basically a straight-up joke. So the receptionist slides in a fair warning. She tells Lilaris to stay sharp and not bite off too many jobs at once, because once her mana hits zero and her light magic dies mid-task, the consequences won't be mild. They'll be brutal. Lilaris stares at the request, and right away nerves hit like, what if a job this big is way more than she can handle? But she realizes this isn't scary to her at all. She's been doing the exact same thing every single night for years, ever since her parents never stopped demanding on their orders. She had to keep every single light in the mansion blazing for 12 straight hours. Then they made her light up the entire yard too. That hits her like a spark, and suddenly she's not just thinking about it, she's ready for it. A huge smile bursts across her face as she swears to herself, I can totally pull this off. And she suddenly feels unstoppable, realizing this workload isn't even close to what she's handled before. And she starts dreaming about grabbing every single request all at once. But just as she's rifling through her papers, she catches a shuffle, then sees two kids lurking and hiding right nearby. A little girl curled up on the floor, trembling as tears streamed down her face, sobbing that today's job got wiped out. She's starving, and now she's being forced to crawl back to work. So her brother plays the tough guy, but he tells her there's nothing they can do. Then watching them grind through it wrecks Lilaris's heart completely. She doesn't even blink. She steps up, flashes her form, and tells the staff she's registering for the job right now for today only. And the mother is so relieved she can't get the words out fast enough. She blurts that they almost never find someone with light magic to take these jobs, and that Lilaris is an absolute lifesaver. The rescue leader locks eyes with her, demanding, so you finally see why light magic is a problem, and you honestly think you can run an adventure with that? Lilaris locks eyes with him and snaps, so you're calling me useless? Because this magic is literally everything she has. But she knows better. She's thinking about how light isn't just for shining things up. Push it the wrong way, and it can wreck people's sight. Shape it right, and suddenly you've got tools in your hands. She realizes her magic isn't just powerful. It's brimming with hidden potential. And as she grabs her chest, she steels herself and whispers that it all hinges on how you wield it. She's dead sure her power can do way more than everyone thinks. He stares at her like she's insane, then leans in and asks straight up if she's really trying to make a living off something this small. Lilaris doesn't back an inch. She snaps, yelling that she's done listening to people say light magic is useless. And then he lets out a quiet laugh, leans in close with a smug grin, and tells her she's way more interesting than she thinks. Then he just leaves her hanging. He tells her, give it your best shot, and then he strides off later. Next, the story whips back to the massive mansion where Lilaris has been staying. Martha's right there, grinning from ear to ear, asking Lilaris how her trip to the guild went, and how everything went with it, just like she's been waiting for her return. Then Lyliris grins and tells Martha that everything went perfectly. She even got to meet the guildmaster right as Martha's world completely blindsides her. Lyliris starts calling the guy out as a little weird, but her words slam to a halt the second she sees Martha just drop her bucket and unleash a wave of water everywhere. Martha looked totally rattled as she demanded to know whether the guildmaster really said nothing else to her before she left Lily. Lyliris felt totally confused, but she still noticed the guy acted like he thought she was someone else. Martha tells her she understands, then drops a serious warning. Don't you dare bring up the guildmaster while you're inside this mansion. Lyliris starts spiraling inside her own head, freaking out that this whole drama is actually real because everyone thinks she's Kai's lover. And it's suddenly getting way too close to the truth. She stands frozen, replaying every word from her talk with the guildmaster. And he remembers how he once wondered whether a light magic user could even survive the road as an adventurer. Then it hits her, and suddenly she understands that, even if she can't do much right now, she's got to grind harder than ever to crack the secrets of her magic. Lyliris stands right in the middle of the room, staring at her own glow, thinking, can I actually crank up how bright my light gets? And she can't stop thinking that this power feels exactly like the electricity from her old life. She remembers when LEDs first showed up and basically sliced power use way harder than those old school bulbs ever did. So she decides to whip up an LED bulb with her magic, all to keep her mana use low. It works perfectly, and she explodes into cheers because she actually pulled it off. And the whole room suddenly lights up like it's on fire with brightness. Martha hears the commotion, rushes inside and asks Lyliris if everything's okay, and slams to a stop at the door as the magic explodes into a loud buzzing that floods the whole area. Martha's jaw drops at the sheer brightness. It feels like straight-up daylight, yet Lyliris confesses she's only holding back. Seeing how perfectly it works, Lyliris grins from ear to ear and goes, bet it we should light up this whole house. Martha's practically buzzing. She cheers that she can finally scrub those brutal, hard-to-reach corners, and Lyliris just freezes like, wait, since when? Martha's jaw drops as she blurts out, wait, Lyliris, you really mean we're going to light up the whole house? And the magic bursts outward, flooding the entire room with a radiant glow, as Lyliris stands there with her chin up, proud as can be, but Martha still looked freaked out, firing off, are you sure this is safe burning mana that fast? Lyliris flashes this massive, happy grin, insists she's totally fine, and swears she just wants to make things easier for everyone working there. She's riding that good feeling and tells Martha, let's keep this momentum. Let's get the rest of this place finished. But Martha's eyes look overwhelmed, like she just realized this mansion is insanely huge and stretches for miles. So she pitches the idea of bringing in her daughter Sarah because the girl can whip up light magic too and help immediately. Lyliris practically explodes with excitement, yelling at Martha to bring her over. ASAP, because they could start magic research together right now. A shy 13-year-old girl named Sarah slips in, barely speaking, and asks if they need her. Then she looks up at Lyliris with eyes so watery, they practically sparkle. Seeing how jittery the kid is, Lyliris can't help but think she looks just like a scared little bunny. Lyliris yanks the girl into a crushing hug, fighting off the urge to protect her with all her heart. While Sarah looks up and blurts, why are you crying? The kid just freezes in place, eyes huge as she whispers back to her because it finally hits her how deeply Lyliris really cares. Sarah's voice cracks as she tells him lighting the mansion lamps was her one job, her one responsibility. But when she peers down the empty hallway, she spots that almost every room is already blazing with light, and it sends her spiraling, terrified she's about to be shoved out of the house for good. So she begs Lyliris to let her keep working. Lyliris's eyes bulge. She slams the thought shut on the spot, insisting it's not even close, and then she snatches both the girl's hands and insists she's got it backwards, then swears she wants her right there beside her, forever. She leans in and admits she's been hunting for someone to team up on light magic research, and then she turns to Sarah, asking if she'll be her assistant. Sarah can barely process it. She stares, overwhelmed, and asks, wait, you really want me? Because the idea that someone would want her help, even with only her light magic, feels unreal. The girl bursts into happy tears, swears on the spot she'll dedicate her whole life to serving Lyliris. Lilyrus grins, tells the girl she doesn't need her forever, just for the next 3 years, give or take. She admits she's in a real white marriage right now, and Sarah just stands there completely stunned, like, wait, what does that even mean? Staring at the massive estate, Lilyrus declares that once those 3 years are up, she's gone no more cages, and finally she'll be free. The kids' eyes flood with tears again, because they can barely even take in that their time together is already running out. Martha swings in with a broom, cracks a joke about it being time to clean up, and the girl freezes completely, caught totally off guard. Martha grabs the girl and steers her away so they can finally reach work, while she tells Lilyrus, no more wandering. You need to go back and get real sleep. As they walk off, Lilyrus slumps and mutters to herself, wishing she could have stayed out longer to keep digging into her research. The girl burst into laughter as they walked out, telling Martha that the madam was way wilder and way more fun than she ever expected. Down the hall, another maid creeps to the corner and peeks out stunned to the bone as she stares at that glowing corridor. She's frozen in shock, thinking, wait, was it even possible for that madame to ignite every single lamp by herself? The dark-haired guy and the other maid freeze in dead silence, faces twisted in pure shock because the man can't even process how much magic power Lilyrus is secretly sitting on. Outside, the whole mansion blazes like a warning beacon in the dead of night, so bright it leaves everyone staring like they've never seen anything like it before. And while all this chaos rages on, back at the Marquis estate, where Lilyrus' parents live, the same blinding light erupts and everyone there gapes in shock, screaming, what on earth is going on? Lilyrus' father is snapping right in his office, waving at those towering stacks of papers and screaming that he's nowhere near finishing all the paperwork he's got left. One of his servants snaps his head up from the floor and blurts out the bad news at night. They can't get any of this work done because it's so dark they can't see a thing. The servant snaps that it's basically his own fault. He fired every single light magic user just because Lilyrus was nearby back then. His dad totally loses it. He screams at the guy to shut up because he can't stand hearing the truth about his mistakes. He stands by the dark lamp and snaps orders so hard they jump. Get that job posting up right now because he needs fresh light magic users to hire. The story snaps right back to the rescue night. Alfred stands over Lilyrus's body by the wreckage, and in that same heartbeat, he realizes he can't afford to lose her. He stares down at her face and deep in his chest admits he can't even explain why it hits, because the second he spots her lying there, that feeling explodes to life. Alfred can't stop thinking that these days he's nothing more than a problematic signboard, but it gets even crazier. He wasn't just some nobody. He was a prince born to the king's concubine, hunted and targeted his whole life, until his brother finally grabbed the throne and threw him out to this land. He stares at his hand, wondering if someone like him, tainted by a past like that, could ever really turn it around. He might be the one who finally makes Lilyrus happy, standing over her unconscious body like he holds the power. Then bam, cut to a bright morning in the city, and Lilyrus is already up, flashing a warm greeting at Martha. She's grinning like the world can't touch her, then announces to everyone that she's heading back to the guild again today, and she tells Martha to pull a gold coin from her own budget, and Martha swears she'll take care of it immediately. Kai's right beside her, practically buzzing with excitement, ready to dive into some light magic research and get moving. They rush over, and as Liliara swings the door open, she yells, "Come on!" But Alfred is already there, and the look on his face screams surprise as he blurts out, "So why are you showing up again?" Lilyrus finally gets a clear look at Alfred's build, and all the words vanish. She can barely even breathe, just staring at his chest. Like she just stumbled on a masterpiece. She's telling him his muscles and balance are straight up God tier, and yep, he's exactly her type. This snaps Alfred into full freak out mode, so Lilyrus panics, flails her hands like crazy, and screams that she's not actually in love or anything. She keeps blurting on that she's a married woman, and there's just no way she'd ever fall for the guildmaster. She sealed it by yelling with a massive grin that it was absolutely not happening. Alfred just slumps there, drained by the whole conversation, muttering under his breath like, "This can't be real." He stares at her, realizing he's really her husband, and he can't stop wondering how she'd react if he finally blurted it out. Suddenly, heavy footsteps slam closer and closer. Someone shouts, "What's all this commotion about?" And right then, this massive guy crashes in, starts flexing like he's trying to win a fight, and tells Liliris his muscles are pretty damn awesome too. He jabs a finger at her, and she's staring back like she's lost while he asks straight up if she wants to go on a date. Liliris stares up at the giant adventurer, then eases him down like it's nothing, apologizing as she does. But she can't get herself to back those muscles because she figures he's been living only for upper body gains, then calls him out. His legs are way too skinny and tells him that if he wants to blend raw speed with real power, he has to start building up those legs too. She admits his arms are seriously impressive, then pushes him to train his lower body too because he's got to balance himself out, leaving the mom. She keeps talking, and that's when the guy's forced to snap the truth into place. She's saying he's definitely not her type, and Alfred completely loses it, bursting into laughter in the background. Alfred nods along like, yeah, that tracks, then fires off sarcasm at the buff guy, apologizing for his loss like it's a joke with teeth. Just as they were about to move, a second voice blurted from the side, yanking both of their attention as they spun around to see an older man with a scar running across his face grins at her, tells Liliris she's dead on, and leaves her staring like, who the heck are you? The man steps forward and introduces himself as Garuda, the ex-guild master, and the second Lily clears his frame, her eyes go full starry mode like they've just ignited. She completely snaps, screaming that she's obsessed with his physique and calling him a full-on muscle god, while Alfred just stands there barking at her to stop it. Garuda cackles and grills Liliaris about whether she's a fan of his muscle. Alfred just broods there looking furious. And when she answers that, she mainly loves the fact they can grow even bigger. Well, it's like the moment hangs there, waiting to explode, which makes Alfred snap. He grabs her by the shoulders and screams that in 10 years he'll be just as huge as the guy she caught up to. Garuda just flashes that grin and casually drops the bomb he'll take over training all these scrawny guys himself right here in the moment. That buff guy from earlier slaps a thumbs up like he's about to explode, pumped to learn from Garuda. Meanwhile, Liliris is staring like it's a dream come true, and Alfred just mutters grumpily in the back. Outside the guild building, everything stays totally chill while the sun blazes down on the street. Liliris snaps with energy, leans over the counter, and declares she's taking on every single job on today's list because she's not backing down. But Alfred lunges in front of her, warning that pulling something like that it will blow up problems for everyone else. She tells him straight up that light magic quests usually pay basically nothing, so she's offering one big copper coin and a hot meal instead, promising that, so don't worry, she'll handle it herself, and she'll even top the other light magic kids' request with something way better. And the kids nearby just stare at her, totally dumbfounded by the insane offer she's throwing at them. A bunch of kids and a few adults pile into a classroom, hanging on every breath, waiting to hear what's happening, as Liliris stands up front, beams a massive grin, and thanks every single one of them for coming. She steps up to the crowd, announces she's been studying light magic, and begs for anyone who can use it to come help her but she sets up the whole place at breakneck speeds so fast she's basically a blur while the boy drops his gaze, sounding totally crushed, and asks if people like them useless, in his eyes, can even do anything at all to help. Liliris cuts that conversation off on the spot, leans in close and tells him, trust me, we've got a purpose, we're not useless. She turns to the group and asks what their bread is really made of, and one kid blurts, wheat, so she leans in and tells you, straight up, that you've got to have light for that wheat to shoot up big and stay strong. She tells you the truth, everything grows bigger, stronger, and way better under the blazing sun than in the cold shade. And then leans in and tells them they're the only ones who can truly summon that sunlight, shattering the idea that light magic is useless for good. Liliris keeps drilling her lesson, and then she drops the bombshell: light isn't just sunlight, because some kinds of glow can burn bright even longer than the sun itself. One of the boys stares up in pure disbelief, blurting out, wait, are you serious? Liliris just smirks and nods like it's the fact, telling him, yeah, it's really true, but she doesn't just talk, she proves it. She thrusts out her hand, summons a glowing orb, yells, lead, and then, while the little girl beside her gasps like she's seeing magic for the first time, marveling at how bright it is, Liliaris just chuckles, clearly thrilled to flex her power. Then the boy blurts out something even wilder. This new light gulps way less mana than the sunlight spell ever did, and it leaves the girl absolutely stunned. Lilyris gets fired up and tells them there are tons of ways to summon bright light without wasting energy, and that they've only scratched the surface of what they can learn next. She steps up in front of everyone and lays out the whole plan, insisting they check every single person's magic level first, because that's exactly what today's request is all about. Lilyris lifts her hand again, and the sunlight bursts forth like a brand new signal, bright enough to kick everything into motion. So she rallies the entire group, pushing everyone to take the leap and unleash their own magic, just like she did. And every kid shot their hands up at once. Sunlight exploded across the room in one massive wave of blinding light. Lilyris decides to drag the lesson into the hallway, because 12 people blasting sunlight at once is way too blinding to survive. So the crew marches on, and right after an hour, one of the kids finally spots it. Their sunlight spell is sputtering, flickering, and fading fast. The light flickers out of existence, and boom, just like that, the spell is completely erased. Lilyris leans in, eyes bright, and tells the kids that holding a sunlight spell for a full hour is straight up a seriously impressive feat. She tells them that with talent like that, they could even land gigs lighting up the local shops. The boys stared at her with wide, shocked eyes, demanding to know if she was seriously saying they'd actually get jobs. Lilyris leans in and swears it's the truth if they can survive even 1 hour in the sunlight. Then flipping over to her LED setup would let them keep the lights blazing for a whole entire day, and the kids can't even wrap their heads around them. Time skips, an hour blows by as the kids drill their brand new magic skills, and then one boy just freezes, staring at his own hands in pure disbelief because that magic light of his is still blasting bright, glowing on even after all this time. One of the boys is completely stunned, blabbing that he can't believe he kept the sunlight spell going for a full 4 hours. And the girl beside him is just as pumped, pointing out that ever since she started, her mana's skyrocketed for real. And right after, another girl blurts that hers is still burning bright too. The rest of the group can only stare in stunned silence, shocked they actually pulled this off. A young boy shoots his head up, hope flooding his chest, thinking, what if we can do even more? And then he cuts himself off as the thought keeps racing. Lilyris flashes him a massive, confidence-boosting smile and tells him he's right, then promises there's a ton they can accomplish together. Watching them, she vows in silence that she'll never let anyone call light magic useless again. Then she starts to Red burst in, clutching a huge wooden tray, shouting for Lilyris he's finally back, and he brought the food. He lays out the goods, making sure everyone hears this loud and clear. You're getting 2 meat skewers and 4 loaves of bread each. And the kids totally lose it, staring at the feast with wide sparkling eyes like they just hit the lottery. A tiny girl stares at the mountain of food on the table and blurts out, "Can I take some of this home with me?" She says she really wants to share it with her sisters. And Lilyris grins, telling her she can, no questions asked. Lilyris leans in and tells the kids to make sure they grab their reward money from the guild on the way home. And she lets them know she's counting on them for tomorrow. So the kids skip off smiling, shouting that their teacher's the best little thumb. Lilyris darts over to the guild counter, clutching a fistful of papers, trying to tie everything up. Then she freezes. What? When the receptionist tells her how amazing it was to watch all those kids march out with massive smiles plastered on their faces, Lilyris practically glows from the compliment, then shoots a quiet, real thank you that hits straight from the heart. And she's clearly bursting with good vibes, while Alfred stands nearby, calm as ever, red-eyed, watching the whole scene unfold. As they clear the plates, Red leans in and asks Lilyris straight up what she's really feeling about Lord Alfred. Lilyris freezes for a second, looks up at him, and demands to know why he's suddenly bringing up her husband. She flushes hard and blurts out, "It's not that I hate you, I just haven't really met or talked to you yet." Red stays silent, eyes fixed and worried, while Alfred fades into the background, walking away. Alfred barges in and tells Lilyris she's working hard so confidently that it catches her completely off guard while he brings up how they've crossed paths again. Lilyris is so stunned she can barely force a single word out as Alfred flashes her a warm smile and tells her he's just relieved to see her healthy and thriving. He reaches out and gives her a soft pat on the head, just a small, friendly gesture and then he storms off, flicks a lazy "see ya" over his shoulder, leaving Lilyris standing there, frozen in place. Totally frozen, she clamps a hand to her chest and starts spiraling, asking why her heart is pounding so violently. She realizes that even if she only knows him as the guild master, he somehow makes her feel totally, unshakably safe. And then it all slams into her. She's married, and there's no way she's supposed to feel this way about another guy. Later on, Lyliris overhears wild gossip. Apparently, some girl used to be Kai's lover, and she snaps on Kai, full on losing it, screaming that she's not doing any of this on purpose, while he just stands there utterly baffled. Alfred tells Lyliris that her facial expressions flip so fast it's almost hilarious, and then he's suddenly all flustered, his brain blurting out, "She's so cute," before he forces himself to move on. Lyliris shakes her head hard, tries to rip herself out of the spiral, and forces the thought in she's absolutely getting that divorce in 3 years. Meanwhile, Alfred trudged off with a heavy heart, convinced she'd never find real happiness with a guy like him, and telling himself he had to bury every feeling he had. Later, Lyliris kicks back with Sarah, and Sarah just beams. She's thrilled the kids were happy with what they pulled off. Sarah scoops up a mountain of dishes, tells Lyliris to stay put, and then whoa, the next part comes fast as her hands shoot off with the stack. While she's away, Lyliris studies her light magic, and you can almost see it click. This is a rock-solid first step toward cracking her research. She's determined to unlock what else her power can do, especially if it can help the kid. Suddenly, Alfred bursts back in with a stack of books and asks why Lily hasn't headed home yet, making the whole moment explode into chaos and cutting her off mid-sentence. Lyliris wonders if the guildmaster is only bored, but he snaps back fast, telling her he's got way more to do than she thinks. Alfred stands there clutching a wooden crate, saying it like it's nothing that he just so happens to have free time today. Lyliris barely hears him. She's lost in daydreams about the muscles tucked under his armor. Then Alfred catches her staring and tells her to knock it off because, yeah, that's starting to become a problem. So he starts spiraling, thinking, am I really that ugly that she can't even bear to look at my face? Liliara snaps into action, rushing to set the record straight, insisting it's not like that, only to stop mid-sentence and continue from there. And then she gets carried away, bursting into laughter as she tells him his muscles are honestly god-tier out. Alfred studies her for a beat, and then bam, his face melts into the gentlest smile you've ever seen. He leans close, flashes a teasing smile, and tells her he can show her the real deal up close, right there in bed. Lyliris' eyes bulge wide, and she totally snaps, screaming that she's actually seeing real muscles. She gets way too fired up, leans in close, and keeps pressing him. So when is it happening, or should we just do it right now? And then she stops short, like she's about to spill the rest, and she even catches herself thinking, what if I shouldn't touch them? Meanwhile, Alfred's smile starts to slip like he's regretting the joke already, so he blurts out that there's no way he was just joking, while Liliaris folds into a pout, and Red just watches the whole awkward disaster unfold from the sidelines. Alfred's face floods with red as he thrusts his hand up and admits, I might not be able to stop myself much longer. And then he snatches Lyliris by the arms, locks eyes with her, and calls her name with a deadly serious stare that completely throws her off. He scoots in even closer, then blurts out, tell me if I confess that I want you for real, how would you react? But before she can even wrap her head around the question, he won't let go. He grips her hands tight and demands what she do about it. Lyliris totally loses it, blurts out that she's the absolute worst, and starts screaming while Alfred just stands there, totally baffled. And Lyliris tries to figure out what's even going on. She's blushing like her face is on fire, then she yells that she's married, like she can't even process him walking out and saying he wants her. She doesn't back down. She keeps yelling, calling him out like he's cheating on his girlfriend too. She snatches Kai by the arm and yells, we're out of here now, while Alfred stands frozen behind them, stunned, as they bolt into the chaos. Alfred stands there by himself, eyes locked on his feet, convinced that a guy like him could never be the right match for someone like her. As they head off, Kai shoots a glance at Lyliris and tries to speak up, like whatever's on his mind is burning to get out. Kai blurts out that he's trying to smooth things over, insisting Lyliris has the whole situation wrong and that the guildmaster is he's just this muscle-obsessed guy, and it makes her freeze, totally convinced she might have been getting everything wrong. As Kai reminded her of what Alfred said, how he wanted her, her stomach dropped, and she realized maybe he wasn't being weird. He was warning her to stay focused, because that buff guy at the guild was trying to charm her into losing her head, leaving her feeling completely stupid for assuming she understood everything wrong. She realizes she has to turn back, apologize, and make it right. Then she halts dead still beside the gate because something wild erupts out of nowhere, and she bursts out yelling in pure shock as the whole place starts glowing out of nowhere right in front of them. She and Kai freeze there, totally stunned. Then they suddenly hear pounding footsteps and a voice shouting Lilira's name from the far side of the yard. And just like that, it is Sarah. She's all smiles and wild yells, running up to welcome both of them home. Kai tilts her head at the glowing orbs and asks if this is really light magic. And Sarah grins and swears to her big brother that he's totally right. As she talks, the spell she unleashed that morning keeps lingering through the manor, like it won't let go. Kai can't believe Sarah pulled all of this off by herself, and he blurts out just how insanely amazing she is. So Sarah flashes a massive blush, just smiles and says yes, but then she whips around to Liliris and hands her the credit, thanking her again and again for every bit of help. The story snaps back to earlier that morning, right when everything was barely waking up, and the little Liliris presses Sarah for every detail of her power, what she can do, how much light magic she can really unleash right before everything goes off the rails. Did Sarah say she could stretch a couple of sunlight orbs into 3 hours, or stretch 30 moonlight ones into a full 5? Liliris looks utterly baffled and blurts, "What do you mean by moonlight?" She finally realizes she's lagging behind on the basics back at her old home. There was nobody to teach her, because she was the only light mage around. Liliris leans in and asks Sarah for just a tiny spark of magic, and the moment Sarah says yes, she agrees without wasting a beat. So Sarah throws her magic down and shouts for moonlight, and tiny, gentle orbs of light drift up into the air like they've been waiting for her. Liliris stares at the glowing light, grinning so wide it looks like her face might split, and she blurts out, "It really feels like moonlight's right here in the room." But then she fires a question at Sarah. What other kinds of light can she create? Sarah just stares, totally baffled, and blurts out if there's even anything more. And when Sarah admits she doesn't know any other types, Liliris clocks it instantly. This girl just needs one little push, so she tells Sarah to imagine something totally different, like that cozy, warm glow you'd see spilling out from a fireplace. Sarah takes a risky swing and somehow conjures firelight in seconds, leaving Liliris staring like she can't believe how fast she nailed it. Sarah practically bursts with excitement because she actually pulled it off, and Liliris keeps praising her nonstop, screaming how incredible it is that she learned this brand new trick so fast. The magic bursts into a gentle orange glow like a tiny flame you can't ignore, except it never burns your skin. It just makes little. When Liliris finally clocked that Sarah could twist the light's properties, her mind exploded with all the wild things they could pull off together. Liliris gets so hyped, she blurts, "Sarah, can you use LEDs to shout my name?" Then she beams with a huge grin, because Sarah decides to try anyway, yells LED to cast the spell. Then it does nothing, but still nothing. Not a single move, just two people stuck there, staring at each other, utterly baffled. Sarah finally snaps up and blurts, "What even is an LED?" Then quickly adds, "I'm sorry, I've been so out of the loop." Liliris totally faceplants in the moment and instantly realizes, yep, this world has zero modern tech like that. She starts geeking out hard and breaks it down. The name actually means light-emitting diode, which only leaves Sarah even more lost. So Liliris blurts out that it's basically like zapping things with electricity from glowing creatures, and Sarah shoots back, "So it's like fireflies." Liliris hesitates, unsure what to say, and blurts that it isn't quite right, though she admits it's close enough to count. She starts to panic a little, scrambling for the right words so she can explain it to the kid. And to prove it, she cups her hands and a bright, steady glow ignites between her palms. Sarah tries it, and somehow the light blooms in her hands. She blurts out, "Am I doing it right?" And the second Liliris hears her, excitement explodes. She declares, "Yes, that's exactly how it should look." And then she cuts herself off as the moment surges. The second Liliris starts poking at the technical side, trying to figure out the real mana cost and how it stacks up against sunlight magic. She stops cold, because the answer is sitting right there in her data, and then because, of course, when you dig back into the research, It turns out these new LEDs don't just glow, they sip magic like it's nothing. And the magic consumption is actually in the sunlight magic was brutally underpowered, insanely low. Only 1/150th of what regular sunlight magic uses. So Sarah wastes zero time and starts slapping LEDs all over the mansion. And the moment a maid spots her working, she steps in and thanks her for all the help. They push Sarah to finally admit it because that light isn't just going to vanish. The staff can take all the time they need to clean, and as the maids beam and say her words make everything easier. The moment just keeps going. While Sarah just freezes, utterly stunned by how one tiny magic trick can actually change everything, outside the mansion every single window blazes bright against the dark night sky. Later on, Lilyrest drops into her chair at her desk, snatches a pen and paper, and tells herself, I've got to write all this down before it slips from my mind. So she starts charting every mana point, clocking that the LED guzzles only a sliver of MP, way less than fire and moonlight, and light years cheaper than the brutal price of sunlight magic. Lilyrest scans her notes on the usual way. Magic power gets measured, how long someone can keep a sunlight spell burning with nothing but sheer will. Anything past 5 hours counts as a monstrous chunk of mana, so she sinks into her chair at her desk, staring at the problem, thinking, how do I turn all this into power for my land? She glances at the tiny potted plant on her windowsill, and bam, an idea hits her like lightning, kicking her thoughts into overdrive about, even with the fresh LED lights she built, her plant should still thrive, so if they keep the lights blazing for long enough, they could probably grow fresh veggies even while winter is raging outside, and it doesn't end there. Because she figures flowers blooming in the off-season would sell for a fortune too, so her thoughts race right into no. These noble women were utterly stunned at the thought of fresh flowers blooming in winter, and once it hit, they got so completely obsessed. And then they'd rush to buy out whole carriages in one go, begging for more like they couldn't get enough. While Lilyrest pictures, Red and Kai were blasting with cheers, hyped about the cash they're about to rake in from the plan. Then reality hit, and she pumped herself up, convinced that if nobles lived for this kind of thing, it was the perfect next move to push her plans forward. Lilyrest is getting all fired up as she scribbles, thinking about how rare items always cash out for a fortune. But then she freezes mid-step, and boom, her plan hits a nasty snag because there's a pretty big catch to it. The markets in the capital and the next town are miles away, and the snowy roads are way too deadly to risk right now, so it felt way too likely those goods would get smashed to pieces while they rattled along in a carriage. She can tell her territory is bleeding out, and it's like nobody's out there to even buy flowers, so she slumps over her desk, staring at the mess in front of her, wondering if there's anything else she can do to truly help. She forces a smile, shakes off the gloom, and keeps charging ahead one tiny step at a time, doing whatever she can, staring into the crackling fireplace. She realizes imagination is the key. Anyone can spark all kinds of wild light magic just by dreaming it up. She ponders her sunlight and moonlight spells, convinced that, and there are a ton of other ways she can use her power to flip the whole situation and save the land. Lilyrest clutches her notebook to her chest and grins, already buzzing with excitement for whatever hits her neck. Then the story whips back to her parents' mansion, where that fancy place flexes like it owns the whole room. Her Martian mother was hitting her breaking point as she got ready, snapping at the servants, demanding to know if they were still nowhere near finished. One of them blurts out that the lighting is trash, saying their hands are basically trapped in the shadows the whole time they work. The male servant hurries to apologize, he's out of magic, but the Martianess snaps, yelling at them to stop because she's got no time to waste. Lilyrest still remembers the spotlight finally only landing on her after her younger sister, Ymiria, got engaged to the crown prince. Back at the mansion, her mom is practically sprinting down the halls, panicking that she has to reach the venue right now. The moment she shows up, someone calls out how wildly unique her makeup looks, and she instantly ducks behind her fan, sweating like crazy. She finally locks eyes with her reflection in the mirror and freezes dead in her tracks, unable to process what she's seeing. She totally snaps the second she sees her maid, shrieking at the girl for daring to show up with a face like that. Back at the mansion, the maid is trembling like crazy as she tells the Marchioness, "I didn't change a thing with the makeup." The butler lunges in to calm it down, but the butler keeps dodging the truth, blaming it on the room being too dark and her somehow mixing up the colors. Then the Marquis storms in and freezes at the sight of his wife's face. And that's when he snaps completely, screaming that if this house is too dark, they should just hire someone with light magic, only for the Marchioness to jump in with the same yelling while Lilyrus settles into her brand new home and glances up just as the room starts to dim. No worries though, she grins and trots off to flick the lights on. She's cheering like nothing can stop them, while back at the old mansion, the staff just loiters around, eyes dull, like they've already given up on life. One servant finally blurts out what everyone's thinking. Lilyrus is seriously incredible for surviving all of this, and the Marchioness just keeps staring at her reflection. She realized their perfect life was nothing but Lilyrus magic. And now the worst part hits the daughter she despised is the one quietly holding it all together. And she can barely breathe it in, and the next morning hits like a wrecking ball. Lilyrus realizes she overslept completely. Panic spikes through her, and she darts around the house like crazy while Sarah just watches her. She's shrieking that she's got a light magic request she has to wrap up by this morning, fully spiraling out of control and begging Sarah to help her pull everything together in time. Sarah doesn't hesitate for a heartbeat. She tells Lilyrus she'll do whatever it takes, no questions asked, and there's this real bright joy on her face because she's finally helping her sister. Lilyrus is still a total mess, tears streaming as she blurts out to Sarah, "Thank you for stepping up." Sarah just grins, clearly thrilled to help her sister. Kai bursts in with food and tells her he's got every detail for the request nailed down. Then Lilyrus cuts in, telling him to make sure the kitchen knows she wants the exact same lunch as yesterday Then she grabs her notepad and starts scribbling, barking that they've got to run everything through the LED lights and just keep them on for a little while. As Sarah storms for the door, yelling she's got this, Lilyrus shoots her a wave and bellows that she's counting on her to get everything done. The second Sarah storms out, Lilyrus snaps into panic and blurts that she has to get moving too, right as Martha's standing right there clutching her clothes, snapping that she's not going anywhere until she devours her breakfast. Martha flashes a grin as she tells Lilyrus she'll have to wait anyway until her guard Kai comes back then. She shoots you a stare that screams, "I'm serious," then insists on eating before she even steps out the door. Lilyrus just caves and blurts, "Okay," because she knows fighting with Martha is a lost cause, and she lands right at the massive dining table, devours her soup at lightning speed, and finally snaps into gear to start her day. Lilyrus's stress spikes fast. She can't stop thinking about how she has to apologize to Red the second she gets back to the guild, because she knows she screwed up and it's eating her alive. She cringes at the memory of slapping him over a full-blown misunderstanding, and it only gets worse when it all hits her, she actually marches up to him and snarls, "I hate you," straight to his face, and she face palms hard, thinking, did I really just mess up this badly by pulling a stunt on the guildmaster? She starts picturing whispers behind her back like, anyone with light magic is useless, and dread crashes in hard as she fears those rumors will snowball. But then she snaps back to reality and decides she's already on the case, ready to fix everything. Martha shoots her a hard look, then announces with total confidence that she's taking over the cooking herself. Martha is completely thrown off and blurts out whether the food wasn't to her liking, and it instantly leaves Lilyrus stunned. Martha's face falls as she admits she can't pull off those fancy capital dishes, and then Lilyrus swoops in fast, telling her, that's not what matters at all. Lilyrus blurts out that she only wanted to show her gratitude, but Martha's still totally lost, so she presses, wait, who are you trying to thank exactly? Martha is absolutely stunned when she realizes Lilyrus wants to do something for the guildmaster. She just freezes in place, staring in pure shock, and she can't stop thinking how brilliant the whole idea is. And she tells Lilyrus that Alfred would be thrilled to hear about it, but Lilyrus can't just assume it has to be Lord Alfred, and she double-checks that name twice to be sure. She starts plotting like, if I play this gift smart, it could actually smooth things over between the Duke and the guild. And that's where everything explodes. Martha doesn't waste a second. She guides Lily straight into the next room because she knows that a real apology is the one thing that matters most. Lilyrus kicks Loki into full panic because she's terrified that one wrong move will anger the master and he'll toss her out before her 3 years even end. They stride into the kitchen and Lilyrus beams from ear to ear as she thanks the cooking staff for the non-stop killer meals they've been serving up lately. She spots all the chefs crowding by the window since the sun's blazing and the room's warm, and that's when dread hits. What if the ingredients are slowly cooking and spoiling in the heat? It hits her that they've got no real chase too dark to slice anything safely anywhere else, so she jabs her finger and blurts, LED, and boom, tiny glowing lights start popping up right where she wants them. The kitchen staff is completely stunned, just standing there, eyes locked on that blazing magic light as the Lily Risk got summoned. While the servants start whispering behind them, confusion hits because the rumors scream villain, but she's right here blasting magic just to help them out. The head chef cook, that's his name, steps forward like he owns the kitchen, introduces himself to Lilyrus, and promises he's ready to help with whatever she needs. He asks if she's planning to bake some sweet dessert for the gift, then quickly warns her the kitchen is running dangerously low on sugar. Since sugar costs a fortune, Lilyrus can't stop spiraling trying to figure out what would really make the guildmaster smile. She remembers how Red was crazy for sweets, watching the tough guildmaster completely lose his cool over a bowl of fruit and cream, and Lilyrus pulls off a surprisingly cute side look, and right when it almost works, she spots the huge flaw in her plan. She starts panicking, hard swearing all that sugar is going to make Red's muscles go soft and flabby, and which lights a fire under her. She clenches her fists and vows to turn those muscles into something truly legendary. She can't stop thinking about Lady Garuda. And then it hits, she's decided to help push Red's physique past anything she's ever seen before. Lilyrus starts replaying the basics of nutrition in her mind, convinced that protein is the one true key to building muscle. And he remembers this: if you fuel up with enough top-tier food, your muscles bounce back from every workout even stronger. She can't hide the disappointment, asking if that means there's no beef or pork in the kitchen. Then Cook straight up tells her the cows and pigs can't survive the winter outside, so for now they're stuck with nothing but chicken and eggs. That's actually perfect. Eggs and chicken are straight up top-tier protein, so Lilyrus gets totally fired up and commits to it. She leans in and asks the chef for permission to drown the pot in eggs, and the guy grins, gladly handing her a whole mountain of them for boiling. The pot roared to life as she hauled the eggs out, 30 for the guild. Kids then tossed in 3 more, because Red was getting special treatment. While the eggs sizzle on the stove, she snatches a loaf of bread and starts chopping it up. Then something goes wrong, but then she bites into the bread and realizes it's rock hard, so she decides to toast the slices and turn them into perfectly crispy bites. With the main ingredients lined up, Lilyrus locks in a fierce, focused stare, like she already knows the finishing move she's about to make. And that last perfect touch, mayonnaise. Lilyrus snaps into full focus and lays it out. If you want real muscle to go toe-to-toe with monsters, you'd better load up on protein and those good fats. So she decides, fine, she'll whip up her own mayo and get it done. She dives straight into the kitchen, grinning like she's living her best life. She scoops up the egg yolk, a splash of vinegar, and a pinch of salt, then starts whisking and drizzling in the oil nice and before long, she's proudly holding up a finished bowl of mayo, and the cook just freezes there, utterly lost. Then she destroys all those boiled eggs, whips them into a mountain of fresh mayo, and hits it with a pinch of salt to make every bite pop. She keeps the momentum cranking, then declares the next move is to slice that boiled chicken to bits. The cook's staring in stunned disbelief, thinking, so nobles really just spend their time like this in the kitchen, but he can't stop noticing how insanely fast and steady her hands are as she keeps working, one move at a time. Lilyrus finally lets out a huge cheer because right there on the table sit 2 massive, flawless sandwiches. Check one, stacked with filling. Lilyrus proudly shows off her finished work. One sandwich is a salad chicken, one with herb salt, and the other is stacked with her fresh mayo and boiled eggs. The cook takes a massive bite, and his face lights up despite all that oil. It tastes unreal, and he just can't stop eating. And Lilyrus can finally breathe again, thinking, no matter what world I land in, mayonnaise is always the move. Later on, she strides into the guild, spots the front door, and calls out a bright hello like she owns the place. The receptionist grins and ushers both of them in, saying the kids are already gathered in the same room as yesterday. The 2 exchange a quick nod, then hurry over to link up with the rest of the crew. A huge pack of kids crowds the place, bouncing with excitement, itching to dive into what happens next. Lilaris jerks in surprise at the crowd and blurts out, "Are you all back today?" Right as a young girl steps forward to catch her attention. The girl has two little kids latched onto her. Then she looks over and asks if they can join the group too. She'd heard a rumor that even kids who weren't registered as adventurers could still cash in on a reward just for lending a hand. Lilaris beams at the girl and goes, "Of course you can join." Then adds, "It's totally okay as long as the kids are using light magic," which pushes her to suggest they all sit down for lunch, and the second the kids spot the bread and meat, they erupt in cheers like, "Yes." Lilaris shot them a wink, hoisted her basket high, and revealed she'd hauled extra boiled eggs for everyone just for today. She tells the group to grab whatever they can't finish and take it home, and the kids go completely wild for the meal. But the fun gets slammed shut when Red raps on the doorframe and tells Lilaris they need to talk. She's totally blindsided. And there she stands, clutching the basket. And suddenly the air feels way too awkward. She's desperate to bolt. But right when she's about to run, she clenches the handle of her basket like it's the only thing holding her together. And then it hits her. She's the one who has to apologize for what went down earlier. Red drops his gaze and admits he finally understands she probably doesn't even want to see his face after how he acted. But then, Lilaris panics and screams that he's totally wrong then. Before she can rein it in, she blurts out that she actually wanted his muscles to weigh more than his face. She clocks exactly what she just said, clamps a hand over her mouth instantly, while Red just freezes, face blazing red, totally clueless on how to react. Red stares down, thinking Lilaris must hate him now, but she snaps back and says she just mixed up a few things then. She desperately wants to apologize for how she acted earlier, but the moment she tries to speak, nerves slam back in then. Then it all snaps. She bolts into a full-on apology, screaming at the top of her lungs because she actually hit him first. Red tells her it's on him too, admits he got way ahead of himself back there, so he's convinced she'd never fall for a guy like him, and Lilaris shoots back immediately that she won't but she points out it's mostly because her husband is already waiting for her. So the moment the truth hits, he just stands there, crushed and dejected as he freezes for a split second, like he's about to unleash a mind-blowing secret. Then he stares at her and asks her what she'd do if he confessed that he's really her husband, then begs her to tell him she'd still love him. Lilaris stands there stiff as stone, brain scrambling as she tries to wrap her head around the shocking idea that Red might really be the man she married. She stares at him in pure disbelief, her whole world whirling as she blurts out, "Why would you say something like that?" Lilaris starts thinking that someone with solid connections like Red shouldn't have his parents slam him into a marriage, especially with a person he doesn't even like, because she insists he should cut loose and fight for the woman he truly loves. Then her thoughts slam right back into Kai, and she realizes everything is a total mess. So she flashes him a bright smile, fires off a thumbs up, and tells Red she's got his back, while Red looks completely wiped out, barely able to even process why. She's cheering for his romantic failure, and then Lilaris snaps back to reality the second she remembers why she showed up in the first place, and hands him a huge basket, insisting she wants to set everything right after how she acted the day before. She yanks out this monster sandwich and asks him, "Did you eat yet?" Like she can't believe she's already gone ahead and packed him a snack. Red just stands there, stunned out of his mind. He can't even process what he heard. And he blurts, "Wait, say that again." Lilaris asks again if he's had lunch, and Red snaps back before she can finish, saying he's not talking about food at all. He wants to hear them. Right before that, she says she's doing it to make up for hitting him. Then he shuts her down on the spot, saying that's not the real reason. Red stares at the food in his hands and demands if she's the one who made it. Lilaris nods and admits, yes, even while she insists it's nothing special. Red's face flushes bright. He clamps his hand over his mouth, and he murmurs a quiet thank you to her. He takes one huge bite, grins, and says it's actually great. Then Lilaris jumps in with a sandwich. She can chow down the meat and the bread in the same moment, and Red keeps nodding and chewing, raving about how delicious it is, while Lilaris just watches with a bright smile, thrilled that it's actually good. Red flashes him a huge grin and says that knowing she made it just for him makes every bite taste even better, while Lilaris instantly turns bright red, totally flustered, and spits out a stiff, formal reply to, He's trying to play it humble, saying the flavor is probably just the head chef's special herb salt. She powers through, insisting all she did was chop and tear the ingredients. Red drags his finger across his lips, then tells her straight up that what she did was more than good enough for him. He shoots her a curious look and asks if this is her first time cooking, like, wait, is he really the first person who's tasted her food? So Lilira snaps right back and tells him, no way. And the wild part, most of the time she's actually cooking up a pretty solid amount. Lilira suddenly clocks it, points a finger and says, technically the very first person to try those sandwiches was the head chef back at the estate, running the kitchen like it was his own kingdom. Red shoots her an intense look and blurts out way too loudly that he's stealing her first time. Then Lilira snaps at him to get his wording straight, and she clears it up. The chef only took a tiny taste. She glances away, all shy and flustered, and admits he's the first guy ever who's actually sat down and finished every bite of the meal she made. She shoves another sandwich toward him on the spot, practically begging, you gotta try the egg one too. And Red just freezes there, completely stunned, because she's actually the first person who's ever offered him something like this. Red snatches another bite and asks if this is some fancy royal capital recipe, but Lilira cuts in. This isn't like that at all, so Red blurts out, wait, where is this from? Because that food tastes so insanely good he can't even process it. He's totally in heaven, saying he could probably chow down on this stuff forever until he looks up and catches the local kids, even Sarah, staring him down. He clocks how starving they are and realizes he can't keep hogging everything for himself. So he flashes this huge grin, announces he's sharing with everyone, and snaps for the little kids to come grab their pieces first. Red leans back, tears off the sandwich, and starts feeding the local kids. Every last one of them looks insanely hyped to finally get a taste of the food. Lilira watches him, and it hits her. Just minutes ago, he swore he could eat her cooking forever. And now look at him right here. He's handing it all out before he's even finished. And when she watches him share it with everyone, she scrambles, cheeks burning red, and can't stop herself from thinking, yeah, she likes him way more than she ever wanted to admit. She snaps out of nowhere and tells him to start thinking about his muscles. But Red just smirks. Tomorrow he'll bring a massive haul so he can chow down. He devoured every last bite she had, even tossing out the idea that he should skip breakfast entirely just to make sure he had room for it all. Just the thought of him skipping a meal flips her switch. She snaps and screams at the idea before it even lands. You go on this loud, nonstop rant about how your morning needs protein and calories because without them, your body starts chewing up your muscle. Red looks completely swamped by the sudden science lesson, panics, and begs them to stop because he gets it. No more lessons. Please. But he's still stuck there, completely clueless, staring at it like, wait, what are protein, calories, and all that muscle training stuff, even for... Lilira clamps both hands to her head, realizing her modern world know-how is slipping out way too fast. She knows everyone here is just trying to survive and barely thinks twice about nutrition. But then Red drops his gaze and softly mutters, I'm sorry, like he knows he just made everything weird. He finally admits he never really got a real education as a kid, and now he's convinced Lilira must be completely horrified by how little he actually knows about the world. But Lilira panics on the spot and blurts out that it's completely the opposite. She blurts out that education has nothing to do with it, insisting she knows all this random stuff because she's obsessed with muscle. And then his red eyes snap up to hers, and he blurts out another apology for ranting again about all his bizarre theories and wild ideas. He breaks into a blush, flashes her a warm smile, and confesses that he actually loves that side of her, so she shouldn't feel ashamed. Not ever. Not. Then he reaches for her and blurts out how much he values the way she thinks things through and how fiercely she wants to help everyone with the knowledge she's got. He stares straight into her eyes and blurts out that he loves every single piece of her personality. He just walks right out and tells her he loves her exactly as she is, leaving Alice totally frozen in place. Red locks eyes with her and blurts, I love you. And that's when everything starts to shift, which just gets... Right as it starts, everything gets cut off. Every kid at the table suddenly rockets up, shouting, I love her too. One of the little girls lunges into a massive hug, tells her the whole crew loves their big sis Alice, and leaves her standing. She's completely flustered, while Red just kicks back and watches her, a warm smile lighting up his face. Alice finally snaps back into the moment, raises a point about hunting monsters before you eat them, and she blurts out, shaking her head, asking if every adventure in this whole world is this reckless. Red just shrugs like, yep, that's the whole deal. And Alice fires off a quick thumbs up, then, and tells them to start selling boiled eggs right at the guild so nobody leaves hungry. Red pauses for a beat, weighs it all in his head, and then admits it's a legit solid plan right after that. Once the kids finish eating, they spring up, thank Alice for the amazing meal, and dash out, leaving nothing behind but empty plates. The kids beam from ear to ear as one of them proudly brags that he made the sandwiches extra special. And Alice breaks into laughter, saying she's thrilled they're finally happy and that she's counting on them to help with more experiments today. She starts dragging the kids away, and then Red blurts, wait, stopping her mid-step. He squints like he's not buying it and points out that people watched her stand in the hallway for 5 straight hours yesterday. Then he demands to know if she ever even ran an experiment at all. Alice shoots back, way too defensive for comfort, insisting she definitely did, then blurts out that she was busy trying to figure out everyone's different abilities. And that's when Martha bolts in on it, saying they almost always sneak in a skills exam right during registration. Alice and Martha burst into laughter as Alice admits that light magic users have never had anything like that. So yeah, it turned out to be a massive help for her. Red's face twists with regret, and he blurts out that he didn't realize she'd been having a rough time finding work, at least until now. But Alice flashes a bright smile and tells him, don't worry, because she's already setting strict standards for the future. She tore away from Red, leaving her frozen in place, softly calling her name one last time before disappearing. Red rubs his face and thinks, Lilyress always steps in first to set everything right. She manages it all without even a hint of annoyance. And that makes everything click. So he locks eyes with her and promises, I want you beside me forever. Lilyress' cheeks flare bright red as she repeats his words back to him, and her mind scrambles to figure out what he's really trying to say. She demands to know what that's supposed to mean, and Red snaps back that Martha basically said Alice is a straight-up lifesaver for her, but Alice shoots a look like she just cracked the biggest secret ever. She clenches her fist, and he shoots back. So you're saying you'll hook me up with a job at the guild once I'm divorced? Is that why you're keeping me close? Red snaps completely and screams that she's getting a divorce. Just the word alone rips the panic wide open in him. But Alice finally clocks what she's done. She blurts out her secret life plan after the split, and it hits her. She just messed up in the biggest way. She tries to act unbothered, blares that she and her husband are totally fine, and tells herself she'll keep her job in mind. Red just stood there, echoing her words over and over like a broken record, utterly clueless, like he'd lost the plot completely. Lilyress stares at Red and blurts out whether he's losing it or just having some weird delusion. And Red just stands there, face buried in pure embarrassment, while she realizes she can barely even talk, because she doesn't even know what her own husband looks like. But Red somehow steadies himself long enough to tell her, I'm counting on you because the next part is coming, and I need you with me. Red quickly changes the topic and pushes them toward the basement storeroom for the experiment, and when Lilyaris perks up with real curiosity about that place. So Red lays it out. This is an official order from a bigger guild, and that means he's tossing in a copper coin for every single person who gets involved. The moment extra money gets mentioned, Lilira's eyes instantly turn into shining dollar signs, and the kids stare in pure amazement while Red blurts out that he wants to use the experiment's light to inspect the inventory too. And he strides ahead, jabs a finger at a door, and tells everyone, no, it's deeper inside. Lilyress and the kids trail him down the stairs until they finally burst into the room, and Lilyress just can't hold it in. She erupts, shouting about how insanely huge the space is. She decides to leave one of the leads running, and Sarah stares at her like she's a legend, praising her like, seriously, you managed to light up 7 bright ones at once. Red blurts out that the glow isn't from the sun at all, and Lilyress is left reeling, because she can't wrap her head around how insanely bright it is with zero sunlight anywhere. She finally realizes she never even told them what an LED is, but Sarah just stands there with her jaw dropped, staring at that glow like it's the coolest thing ever. Lilyress is swarmed in the middle of the group when Sarah leans in and softly calls her name, snapping her focus right as the next trouble hit. The young girl beams with pride as she proudly announces she's done with today's request. Then she asks, what's next on the list? Lilyrus just smiles back at her like she's about to reveal a secret. She takes a beat to introduce Sarah to the other kids, and Liliaris beams as she proudly declares Sarah her top student, while Sarah just freezes, completely stunned by the compliment. And then Lilyrus grabs the momentum and tells her to take point, then turns to Sarah and demands she show everyone, right now, exactly how to light fire the right way. The top student title goes straight to Sarah's head, in the best way, lighting a fire under her as she vows she'll give it her all. Kai steps up and dares his big brother to watch. Then he sparks a tiny flame in his palm and asks, "Am I doing this right, even if the answer might not be that simple?" Lilyrus notices it then. Kai's got a real fire attribute, and she leans in so hard she can barely contain her curiosity as she stares at his work until the heat suddenly spikes too high and she screams as she accidentally burns herself. Red snaps completely and demands they fix her hand right now, but Lilyrus tries to play it smooth. She says she'll cool it down with some water and tells him to watch the kids. She's just standing there clutching a glass of water when a fresh face barges in, and the moment that guy mentions he heard about the accident, Lilyrus goes stone still because that voice hits her like a memory she can't ignore. Lilyrus is completely losing her mind over Garuda's physique, calling him the god of muscles, and he's honestly her favorite person to stare at. She can't even stop. And she's so stunned by how perfect his build is that she honestly thinks she'll just drop right here. But then Red bursts in, clamps his hands over her eyes, and growls that she's not allowed to swoon over anyone else's muscles, only his. Lilyrus panics, blurts out what in the world he's doing, while Red just sulks in stubborn silence, and Garuda can't stop laughing at the chaos. Garuda steps in, offers to help with whatever they're building, then whips the rest of the guys into motion but the moment that firelight hits, everyone panics, screaming for someone to grab water before the whole place goes up in flames, right up until Sarah finally cracks a smile and tells them to chill, saying it's a special kind of light. Nothing like real fire. Garuda thrusts his hand out, and when he feels it, he knows she's right, because that flame is ice cold. He's totally stunned by how crazy and cool this magic really is. With all those big guys crammed into that tiny space, Garuda blurts out that it's getting unbearably packed in there, right as she shoved her way through the crowd, smiling politely as she begged everyone to let her slip past just for a second. Sarah tilts her head at the glowing lights and blurts out that they look gorgeous, like a full-on festival, while, as she welcomes Lilyrus back, Lilyrus spots the floating lights too, and then she blurts out that Alfred has to be nearby, but she's totally blindsided, and she blurts out his name with a scream. Lilyrus frantically scans everywhere for him and demands to know where he is, but Red just brushes it off and tells Sarah she's seeing things. Sarah gets completely flustered, blurts that she must be seeing things, then realizes everyone already knows how to make light. Lilyrus grins and tells her she's a born-with-it teacher. She leans in and says, "Every single one of you is crushing it. No one's dropping the ball." Lilyrus grabs Sarah's hands, pushes all the praise onto her, and begs her to keep showing up and helping from here on out. Sarah's eyes start to water. She's overwhelmed with joy, and those kind words hit her right in the heart. Garuda flashes a thumbs up and asks if she's the one who taught the kids. Sarah beams and proudly says, "Yeah, that was me." Sarah flashes a grin and brags that she busted her tail to become Alice's top student, and that brag instantly hooks Garuda's attention as he ruffles Red's hair with a grin and laughs, saying, "Alice is on a whole other level if she's the one who taught that kid." Sarah's jealousy sparks the second Red gets all the attention. She blurts out complaints, demanding to know why she's not the one getting head pats. Lilyrus panics hard, scrambles to fix the rumor, and yells that she's not Red's wife. No way. Not her. Next, someone jabs a finger at a tiny flame and fires off. "Alice, how long is that light supposed to stay burning?" Lilyrus holds up two flames side by side and goes, "If this tiny one is a 1, then the big one's a 9. She flicks her hand like, "I'm just guessing here," and admits she hasn't even run a real test yet. But she figures that for a flame that big, she'll only need about half the magic she'd burn just to light up the sun. Red and Garuda both snap, screaming in pure shock that she can craft something that huge with barely any power at all. Lilyrus just nods, then tells them, "With energy like that, the light is going to burn bright nonstop for a whole day." One of the guys jolts his head up, eyes wide with pure shock, and blurts out, "Wait, something like that? Can that even be real?" Garuda gapes at the magic, swearing it burns brighter than the moon and outlasts the sun by a mile. Then he leans in, eyes widening, because it looks exactly like fire magic. So he snaps his gaze to John and tells him to give it a shot. John looks a little jittery, but he steels himself and gets ready to try. John shuts out everything, channels his own firelight magic, and stares as a tiny flame dances in his palm. Lilirus stares at him and suddenly clocks what's going on right as John screams that he's been a light attribute the whole time. She starts spiraling, thinking, did you really build all those muscles just to shut them up when they called you useless? And it hits her like she shouldn't feel good about judging him, not even in her head. Wondering if she'd come off rude earlier, she's caught off guard while John's blood starts boiling as he promises to throw down with his muscles and light magic, building a world where hard workers like her can finally thrive. He throws the spell down again, and this time a massive flare of fire blasts out of his hand, stunning everyone before they can even react. Garuda asks if he can go even bigger, and boom glowing lights flood the whole place as John finally goes all out, showing off life. Garuda keeps an eye on his mana, wondering how it's holding up with all this chaos. Meanwhile, John just flexes once and grins, saying he's totally fine. Garuda grins at the group and blurts that the plan just got flipped, everything's changed. Lilirus whooped as Garuda told John they had to bolt to a new place to truly put this light magic to the test. Redpick snaps Lilirus awake and hauls her away, leaving her sputtering, why don't you just do the experiment right here? Garuda roars at Red to quit flirting with his wife and get moving because they've got to start. Poor Sarah is standing there, crying her heart out because she'd been dying to join Mr. Muscles but the crew finally stumbles into this eerie forest. Then monsters crash the scene, and Garuda yells at John to unleash his light magic again. John hurls his firelight spell like a cannon blast, roaring the flames straight into a wolf monster. Watch it shriek and stumble as the magic slams home. Garuda and Red blow the whistle he's getting played, and they slam the message into him. Don't trust what you see, because since the monster's already trying to bolt, Garuda snaps a fierce warning so John can slam in and cut off its escape. John shoots forward and drops a blazing pillar of light right in front of the wolf, trapping it before it can bolt. Garuda scoots in close and grins. No, I'm really going to touch the magic. While Red just freezes there, staring. John stares at the flickering magic light in his palm, watching it twist and dance like it's alive. Red warns that the entire plan collapses the second the monsters catch on, that the heat is fake. Yeah, the wolf looks like it's blazing, but John instantly sees the trick, and he knows this is going to make the fight ridiculously easy. Garuda tells the guys to keep the experiment rolling, and Damon's like, say less, I'm in. The crew barrels into a massive warehouse crammed with towering shelves and dusty old supplies. Sarah throws her gaze up at the group and blurts, so what are we supposed to do next? Lilirus huddles up with the group, checking if everyone's magic tank is still full enough to push on. Martha tells Sarah to start teaching the others about LEDs, and Sarah happily jumps in, even when the younger kids are totally clueless. Lilirus snaps her clipboard up, declares it's time to tame the warehouse chaos, and tells Damon they've got to check every item in their inventory and nail down exactly where everything is stored. Damon kicks off the walkthrough, tells everyone the sword at the entrance is nothing special, just standard gear because all the real valuables are locked away somewhere else. Lilirus flashes Damon a bright smile and tells him he's basically unstoppable, so he'd better be the one driving the whole group. Damon fully loses it at the thought he demands, are you serious about me leading? Because in his eyes, he's just an ordinary guy, totally useless in a fight. She doesn't flinch. She tells him that in this warehouse, he's the one who knows where everything is, so he better grab hold of his confidence. She tells him that the right information can turn a whole battle around in a blink. No giant muscles required. She meets his eyes with a gentle, warm grin and tells him straight up that what he already knows is the true power he's got. Lilirus starts scanning the chaos in the storage, pointing at the mess of barrels and demanding to know why everything's just been dumped around like that. Damon thinks it's only because the barrels sit right by the door, like they're begging people to just shove the swords in and take off. Lilirus snaps that the whole plan is a total mess and orders them to load exactly 25 swords in every barrel so the count stays perfect, leaving Damon completely stunned and speechless. He tries to talk it out. It's not laziness, okay? Because the second you step past the entrance, the back of the room drops into such darkness, you can't see a damn thing. And just like that, Lilira's expression snaps into place like she just cracked the code and finally knows exactly how to fix it. Liliris realizes she's gotten way ahead of herself, cringes for a second, and blurts out a quick apology. But she decides, if we're going to do this, we go all out. She blasts her lead magic, lighting the whole place up like a blazing signal. As the light blooms in the room, she realizes she dumped a mountain of mana into it, and now she can't stop wondering how long it'll keep glowing. This is the perfect moment for her little experiment. She can already taste the paycheck. And a charge that lasts forever means she won't have to drag herself back every single day. She starts crunching numbers in her head, figuring, light magic usually burns through a coin an hour, so if I can get 8 hours of LED light for 3 coins, that's a steal. Then it smacks her 90 coins a month. Just to get light sounds is way too brutal for most people. And she starts to spiral because the shops she saw in town didn't exactly look like they were drowning in money. So now she's left wondering if anyone would even fork over cash for light magic. Old memories of everyone telling her her magic was useless crawl back in, and the trauma hits her like a wave, hard, sudden, and unstoppable. Right as she jolts forward and starts pounding her own thighs with everything she's got, like she can't stop herself. You remember this wild social media trick, hit your legs 5 times, and somehow your brain snaps out of the overthinking and locks onto the sting instead. Liliris slaps her own legs and yells at herself to snap out of it. She's got to switch gears fast and lock in on the task right in front of her. So she finally clocks it. If this place doesn't start leveling up, her light magic will never get its moment to explode into the spotlight, and that means. So she can't just light up rooms anymore. She has to find brand new ways to use her power. Just then, Damon barrels over, panicked, and asks if her legs are finally giving out, and she snaps back fast. No, it's not happening. She's basically admitting she got a little too hyped, and it has Damon totally baffled as he clasps his hands and blurts out apologies again and again, then admits he never in a million years thought adventure work would hit him this hard, pointing out that everyone claims these weapons are only for when monsters go on a full rampage. Yet Lilirest gets the bomb. She's sure she's totally misread the whole situation, so she blurts out, wait, are these weapons not meant to be bought or sold? And Damon breaks it down. These weapons are basically handed out to broke new adventurers, or shoved into training so the newbies can learn fast. Damon says they keep these weapons around for anyone caught without gear in an emergency. Then Lily risks everything. He just stands there, staring at the equipment, trying to figure out how all these machines are supposed to work for everyone in this place. She finally understands those weren't just tools, they were lifelines, kept primed to shield people from monster attacks. Damon points out that getting the room right makes a massive difference, which is when he lifts the sword, his stomach drops its rusted, chipped, and even the handle feels loose, like it's seconds away from snapping in his hands. He swears he never would have spotted those flaws if she hadn't blasted the room so bright. Lilirist suddenly realizes that seeing isn't enough. You've got to make out everything crystal clear. Right then, Sarah burst in running, shouting that everyone already cracked the light magic, and Lilirist is bursting with pride, cheering the whole group of kids as she tells them they crushed it and that every single one of them succeeded. She tells them the next lesson is all about shutting the magic down, like picturing that glowing light slipping away until it's gone. Lilirist bursts into laughter and cheers the whole group, telling them they're absolutely crushing it. She winks and tells them, you worked your hearts out, so I've got a reward for you. Right away, one of the little girls spots a faint glow and asks if it's really just a small light, but Lilirest plants herself right in the middle of the room and pop, pop keeps conjuring fresh lights into existence. The second they clock it, the kids totally freak out because the lights above them are twisting into one huge glowing smiley face. Everyone blurts out, absolutely stunned, screaming nonstop about how insanely cool it looks. Sarah's face twists with confusion, and she shoots Lilirest a desperate question. What happened to the experiment they were supposed to be working on? Lilirest just flashes a thumbs up and grins, saying it's a real legit experiment, and then she breaks it down. They're testing whether they can actually control light magic freely. She claps her hands hard and calls it time to slam the lesson shut and finish with a contest. She tells everyone, draw anything you want with your magic, then starts counting down from 10, cheering them on with one rule: there's zero limit on how huge it can be or how many lights they can blast into the air. One girl blurts, am I doing it right? and shows off a giant flower made of glowing dots, and the other kids stare in disbelief at how insanely good it looks. All the kids are going wild, sprinting in every direction, shouting with joy and tossing around glowing magic lights that light up the whole place. Kai says this magic contest feels just like that huge swordsmanship tournament. Then Lyliris totally freezes when she blurts the name again. She instantly drifts into daydreams, eyes glittering, and can't stop wondering if this whole event is basically a parade of ridiculously huge muscular guys. Kai flashes her a huge grin and swears, "Yep, that's exactly how it is." So he breaks it down. Each territory's knights put their fighters through trials to crown, who earns a shot at the capital and then casually admits Sir Alfred skips the whole thing every single time. Lyliris's curiosity spikes. She asks Kai if adventurers can jump in and compete too, leaving him staring, utterly confused. She starts wondering whether the guild master or Lord Alfred would actually beat the other in a fight, and it makes Kai's nerves spike through the roof. Kai leans in and asks what's been on her mind, but she dodges the whole thing and says she hasn't really given it much thought. But deep down, she's convinced Red is the stronger one, and she assumes Kai isn't calling his own boss weak. She keeps picturing Alfred as some totally average, non-buff guy, and it just drives her crazy that he's not built more muscular. Lyliris leans in, asking if winning the tournament comes with prize money, and Kai shuts it down fast. Those qualifiers only hand out medals. That sparks the idea of a mini contest, prizes and all, and now she can't stop thinking about what the kids would crave. She's convinced that medal idea could actually work, and she locks it away in her head for later. Because she's hunting for awesome prizes, she bolts into town to scout what she can grab, but first, he turns to Sarah and tells her, with total confidence, that she has to join the magic contest too. Sarah's eyes go wide and she blurts out in stammering panic that she's absolutely not an artistic type at all. Lyliris shot back that it didn't need to be some fancy masterpiece and dared her to just use her magic to shape letters instead. The moment Sarah hears just letters, her shoulders finally drop, she brightens up instantly and happily agrees to give it a shot. Lyliris blasts through the kids' crowd and yells, "You've got 2 hours until the contest starts, so start practicing right now." Then she turns to Kai and asks if he'll be down to hit the shops with her so he can help her pick out everything. Lyliris and Kai were heading down the path when a voice suddenly snapped her name, calling out for her. It's that mustached guy. He barrels in and stops them just to thank her for the sunlight magic she used the other day, grinning as he says he's only relieved she's still here. Lyliris suddenly gets all humble and blurts out an apology for the mess, admitting she's still figuring out how to manage her time properly. But the guy just shrugs it off, waves his hand like it's nothing, and tells her everyone's genuinely thankful for her help. She tells him, "Don't worry at all, it's totally fine," and then she launches into how the business side runs, laying out that the fee usually swings based on how long the job drags on. She tells him straight up they can't keep selling that low-priced light for long anymore. He rubs his head, lets out an agreement, and winces because he can't shake the guilt of how thoughtlessly he handled the cost. Lyliris quickly shuts it down, saying they're not even pulling real sunlight magic at all. What they're using is this thing called an LID. She gives him a respectful bow, says they'll have the standard rate service ready in a jiffy, and basically dares him to place his order the moment it's official. The mustache guy leans in and says he'd love the help, then warns that if the price climbs too high, it's going to turn into a real struggle. And he's not the only one blown away. Another guy backs it up, talking up how incredible the light was just yesterday, straight up calling those LEDs the absolute best. Even a local woman swears it shines brighter than moonlight, and that's what powers her to knock out a ton of work every single night. As the blacksmith nearby admits, he'd hire Lyliris every single day if he only could. Kai whips his gaze across the crowd of smiling faces and blurts out that light magic is an absolute smash hit. So Lyliris starts panicking over the perfect price, neither too pricey nor suspiciously cheap, and throws out a 5,000 yen a month subscription for the entire house. Kai just freezes in place, staring like everything's gone sideways, mumbling subscription over and over like he's got zero clue what she's even talking about. So Lyliris starts practically vibrating with excitement and blurts out that it's just a service people can use for one set monthly fee. She decides the only way to go is to turn those LEDs into a subscription plan, 3,000 yen for a single room, or 5,000 yen for the whole building. So you start thinking, why not just charge a flat fee per room, especially for huge spots like mansions and places like that? Liliarist is convinced that letting people use those bright LEDs nonstop is the move way better than daily payments, and it'll pull in a flood of customers. She pauses on the spot, staring into the air as doubt crawls in. Is 3,000 yen a month really fair for a normal family? She wonders, turning the thought over and over. As they stroll through town, Kai hears her lay it out. This duchy will stay broke unless they pull in cash from the outside, so she leans in and asks him what else they can sell. The cook's eyes scream stress as he admits sugar's pure luxury. Most people can't even dream of affording it. So Liliris gets this brilliant idea and starts pitching it. What if we sell sweets? Then she pushes them to hunt for something from a cold climate, like maple syrup. She gets even more pumped, picturing the forest in her head, and starts wondering what if they just slip out and scoop up a mountain of wild vegetables to sell. But then it hits her, the catch, and she snaps, saying the forest is packed with monsters crawling everywhere. And Kai nods and tells her straight up, it's way too dangerous. Even a normal person shouldn't so much as step foot inside. Just the thought of those monsters makes your stomach drop, especially when massive wolves prowl the shadows between the trees. And she realizes the winters here are so brutal and blinding with snow that trying to grow any normal crops is basically impossible. Liliris slowly realizes the biting cold isn't the only reason this place stays broke. Out in the wild, you'd think you could feast on fish, meat, and fresh vegetables, but the monsters slam the door shut on every last meal, so nobody ever gets to grab a thing. She whips her gaze around, realizing this place is basically a prison colony, and the mess here runs way deeper than she ever imagined. Even the mines are totally forbidden. There's no stepping inside without monsters hunting them down. So, she plants herself right in the heart of town, eyes locked on every passerby, clocking just how beat up and rough everyone looks as they go. It finally clicks for her. Every single person in the whole duchy looks like they haven't had a decent meal in forever. After the capital treated her like garbage, Liliris realizes with a shock that she's somehow the healthiest looking person on the whole street. And it's honestly maddening, because I can't stand watching her struggle to find a way to finally make this place thrive. She strides through town lost in thought. Alfred works nonstop to keep everyone safe, and she can't shake the guilt that as the Duchess, she's done nothing at all. She glances at the local staff and goes, yeah, of course they're disappointed in me. Liliris starts losing it. She yanks her head, groans that she has to do something because her brain is spinning out of control, while Kai just stares at her meltdown like, seriously? And she just keeps spiraling, grumbling that she can't find a single thing to do and completely clueless about what she's going to use for the contest grand prize. Kai tries to spark ideas with her, asking if she's hunting for something kids would actually love, and right when that question hangs in the air, Liliris's eyes sparkle the moment she spots a whole shelf packed with wooden bears and snowmen, and she gets completely hooked on how ridiculously cute they all look. She freezes there, cheeks blazing, hands clamped over her face as someone calls out to her, and when she finally turns, she spots an older woman posted behind the counter, and Liliris is still completely swept up in the shop's whole vibe. So she keeps gushing about how adorable those carvings are, and the old shopkeeper can't help but chuckle a little. She leans in and admits it. Those carvings aren't for sale at all. She just hands them out as free gifts to anyone who walks into the shop and buys something. Turns out her husband carves those things during the brutal long winters, because what else is there to do? But no matter how many he makes, he can't get a single person to buy them. Liliris can't even process what she's hearing. She leans in so close to the wooden bird, then demands to know how something this beautifully made could possibly not be selling. Turns out the shopkeeper's husband's only doing this as side work while they're snowed in over winter. And honestly, they're praying someone will finally need all these carvings, because right now it's starting to feel like they're going to waste since Liliris scooted closer, wondering if folks would love these the way collectors show off character figures. Even though she knew that kind of obsession usually came with a full wallet, she can't shake the feeling that it's heartbreaking to watch that kind of raw talent vanish into nothing. Staring at those tiny figures, she gets it, sure. The flashy knights in the capital drain a fortune, but these wooden copies would cost only a few copper coins, and they might even snag the attention of some noble. Liliris leans over the counter and suggests they hit the royal capital, and the old lady's eyes widen as she scrambles to ask, wait, tell me more. So Liliris just lays it bare and fires back. Why not sell them somewhere else if they're not even planning to move into town? While they keep chatting, Lilirest spots something else on the counter and tells the shopkeeper, "Hey, your embroidery is stunning too." She leans in for a closer look at the floral design, asks what it's meant to be, and the lady grins that it's a bridal veil. Lilirest tells herself this kind of luxury only comes once in a lifetime, then turns to the lady and blurts out how long it takes to make something that detailed. But the shopkeeper only smirks and shoots this question. "So, Lilirest, are you planning to marry the young man you brought in with you?" Liliara snaps completely, screaming that there's no way nothing could possibly be true, then pleads with the shopkeeper not to toss out such terrifying stuff. As a joke, even as she finally realizes she might have denied it a little too hard, and the old lady just cracks up asking whether the guy she's with is the jealous kind, because to her, that's basically love in disguise. But Lilirest can't even afford to sweat jealousy. She's technically married to a man whose face she still hasn't seen. The shopkeeper snaps back into work, telling them the veil will be finished in a month, but she refuses to even start the next one until next summer finally rolls in. Lilirest is totally baffled. The summer's already here. So she blurts out, "Wait, does that mean the next part is going to take a whole year to finish?" She presses the lady and asks, "So you only do this job at this time of year, trying to crack the mystery behind why the schedule is so weird," she says. "The winters get so dark, she can't even make out the thread colors. And that pretty much murders any chance of doing embroidery work." It finally hits Lilirest and it all clicks. She realizes the missing light is the one thing choking the whole production, so she just can't stop. So she taps the pattern and asks, "How fast could you pull that exact floral design onto a tiny handkerchief?" The shopkeeper tells her one flower takes a day, but a full pattern takes a week. Then Lilirest is left reeling, stunned at how insanely fast she actually moves. Lilirest's panic spikes the second she realizes Amiria's handkerchief for the prince took over a week to finish, and that clicks something terrifying in her mind that the shopkeeper's speed is straight up unreal. He's like a blur, but the lady just grins and asks what on earth a handkerchief like that could possibly be for. Like, what use could it even have? Lilirest gets fired up and declares they'll absolutely sell it, especially to the nobles who go crazy for that kind of thing. The old lady leans in and tells you she's got a wild recommendation for something else, right? He charges for the door, blurting that the colors are impossible to spot in here, and begs for just a second. She pulls out a basket packed with gorgeous ribbons, and Lilirest instantly loses it, squealing at just how insanely cute they are. The shopkeeper proudly parades the embroidery, even pitching it as the perfect hair accessory. Then Lilirest freezes, caught in the moment. She starts scanning every option right there on the street, but she keeps getting sidetracked because she likes absolutely every single one she lays eyes on. She snaps out of it and reminds herself she's here to hunt for prizes for the kids, not to just spoil herself. Kai warns that a ribbon could be a brutal prize for a boy, but Lilirest can't stop staring. She's stuck on just how pretty they look. Lilirest spots the ribbons and decides, since I'm already here, I'm grabbing something for me too. She suddenly lights up with a genius idea, blurting out that she knows exactly what to buy, totally buzzing and hyped out of her mind. Lilirest grabs her bag, zips out of the store in a hurry, and hums her little tune all the way down the street. She barrels right into Red, and the shock on his face is instant. Then he blurts out, "So your experiment's already done." He admits he honestly believed Garuda had already swept her away by now, but Lilirest's eyes sparkle as she blurts out, "Where's Lady Garuda?" While Red just freezes there, staring right through her with dead, blank nothingness. He pinches her cheek and calls it a letdown. But the one she's waiting for still never shows up, no matter how hard she prays. Red locks eyes with her and demands, "So you're really trying to tell me I'm not good enough for you?" Lilirest just shrugs out a flat, "Yeah," and Red instantly snaps. He storms off, yelling at her for being brutally honest. He refuses to back off. He steps in close, slides into her space, and tells her he's kissing her right then and there. Red crowds in way too close, and Lilirest snaps. She blurts that she has zero clue what he's saying, screams that it's not okay at all, and even calls out whether he's hearing himself right now. Red shoots him a glance and blushes, whispering that Garuda's got that jealous streak, and just like that, it all snaps into place for Lilirest. She bursts out, shouting that she finally understands what's happening. She freezes for a second, then demands he clarify because it's got her thinking. Did he really try to shut her up just because she wouldn't stop praising how amazing Garuda is? It hits her all at once. She clamps a hand over her mouth, cheeks burning red, and blurts, "Wait, you seriously meant you're going to do that with a kiss?" She snaps right up to him and says, "If you're trying to shut me up, then just use your hands." And Red lunges to cut her off right there, but she won't back down. She keeps yelling that there's no way she's letting that happen, and she'll only stay quiet if he asks her nicely. Lilyrus shoves him back for a little breathing room, but mid-push she slips and blurts out that she actually loves his muscles too. She presses her hand to her heart, warns him to watch his step because she swears she almost caught feelings, and then snaps back that she's a married woman. So they're not going there. Red decides to cut the drama and play it smooth, leaning back and casually asking where she's been hiding this whole time. Lilyrus practically bursts with excitement and tells Red she's running a light magic contest. Plus, she even went out just to find a prize for the winner. And she flashes her handmade award with pride, then tells the story behind it, how she had someone stitch a plain ribbon to a wood-carved coaster. She tells me there's no pin at all, just a display piece. Pins were apparently way too expensive, and she never managed to figure out how to fasten one to the wood. Red lifts the prize high, grins, and tells her it doesn't matter what it's for because even as a display trophy, he'll treasure it for the rest of his life. He pats her on the head and tells her that honor like that sticks to a person for life, yet Lily's risking everything. Harris totally snaps. She screams at him to stop because the head pats send her heart fluttering way too hard. Red starts to walk away, cracks a joke about hand-delivering the prize, and Guildmaster Lilyrus just freezes there stunned as she finally remembers what his real job is. She snaps and admits she blanked on who he was for 1 second, and Red she just rears back, shaking his head like, "Seriously?" Red flashes a smile and tells her, "Don't forget I'm your husband." Lilyrus panics. Then she asks why he's bringing it up now. He fires back that it's not true at all, and she tries to stay calm. Then her face erupts bright red. Red shoots a smug look over his shoulder, grinning as he asks if that's really how she feels while he tells her to let it go and turn back toward the others. And as Liliaris trails behind him, looking absolutely terrified. And she tears off after him, yelling, "Wait, why are you still wearing that dumb grin?" Red's grin slips just for a beat. Then he glances to the side like something hits him, and he starts to say something new. He marvels at how blindingly bright everything is, and then says, "With light this strong, you can finally use the entire basement." And he cuts himself off mid-sentence like he can't wait to see what she'll do next. And Lilyrus just nods along while Red adds, "Good lighting is everything for what we're trying to pull off." He whips around to her and demands, "So how many hours can someone packed with talent actually keep sunlight magic running?" Lilyrus freezes for a heartbeat, then wait. He's right, and she starts flipping the magic in her mind, comparing it to how an LED really lights up. She tells him she'll need to test it to be 100 sure. But with the brightness this high, it should absolutely power through the whole day. She leans in and says, "If the player's truly next level, they can keep that glow burning strong for a whole month." Red's jaw drops as he blurts out, "Wait, can sunlight magic really last an entire month?" And then, as he keeps firing question after question, Lilyrus finally realizes she hasn't told him the real secret behind her magic yet. She raises a glowing orb and tells him it isn't real sunlight, it's LED light. So she explains it's a super long, lasting, blinding light that keeps burning without hardly sipping any of her mana. Red fixes his gaze on the glow, instantly sure it isn't moonlight or starlight. Then his mind races. Did she just uncover a whole fourth kind of light? Lilyrus declares he's exactly right. Then right away he pushes for a subscription service until the Red just stares at her, totally lost, like she's speaking a whole different language then. Before she can even figure out what a subscription is, someone yells her name from across the room. Sarah burst in, beaming from ear to ear, waving them in and telling Lilyrus that everything's already packed and the whole crew is ready to roll. Lilyrus blurts out a quick thanks, then promises, "I'll be right there, just wait up." The guys around them are already strapped with crates and swords, firing off questions. What's going on? Because it feels like the big move is finally about to kick off. Red pauses for a heartbeat, and then his face bursts with realization he's finally cracked the plan. He tells everyone to drop the cleaning for a sec and bolt over to watch a light magic contest instead. The guys nearby stare in pure shock, demanding, "Wait, are you seriously saying you'll join a light magic competition?" Red tells them it hits way harder with a real audience, so he's gearing up to hand out the prize the moment they finally get a crowd. Lilaris is totally moved by how much he's doing, and Red breaks into a huge smile as he thanks him for everything. Red gathers every kid in one place and fires off the question, "You ready to kick this off?" He tells everyone the rule: cast your light. Magic drawing before the counter slams 100. Then Liliara scans the group to make sure everyone's on board. The kids are going wild, cheering like crazy and flashing big thumbs up while Lilaris hypes herself up for the show. She bursts forward into the spotlight and screams for the contest to finally start. The countdown kicks off at 1 when a girl spawns tiny sparkles. Then it jumps to 2 as Sarah and the other kids lock in and pour their magic into blazing bright glows. At the count of 3, one kid clenches his focus, throws his arms wide, and glowing specks of magic start swirling and dancing all around him. The sight totally blindsides the guys, especially the dark-haired leader, who can't wrap his head around how that kid is moving the light on command, while Damon drops the brutal truth that even a fireball is nearly impossible to land on one exact spot. They're still going on about how brutal it is to make every single one match the same size or even change them at all, especially when you've got so many to deal with. And meanwhile, John just sits there on the floor, completely frozen in shock at what he's seeing. The leader rubs his chin and says, "Plain and blunt, this kind of control isn't something anyone can just pull off without serious, hard-earned training." Lilaris clocks every twitch and glance, then drops the truth. "You're all seriously shocked by what's happening." And she explains in no uncertain terms that magic doesn't just obey you unless you've logged a ton of practice. The kids stay locked in, grinding through it, shaping their own tiny glowing lights, floating in the air. But she's absolutely buzzing with excitement, thinking that this contest turned into the perfect training ground for everyone's light magic. When the clock hits 0, she erupts in cheers and declares loud and official that the contest is finished. John and the leader lean in over the final results, and they both blurt out that this whole thing looks absolutely unreal. The warehouse crackles with glowing light. Magic hearts drift through the air, swords shimmer everywhere, and even tiny bunnies pop up like they belong there. And everyone's like, "Yeah, this feels insanely magical." The adventurers blink, stunned, staring at the magic as if it's impossible, while the girl swears she never knew light magic could pull off something like this. And the guy goes, "Yeah, it looks exactly like a gemstone." Everyone's buzzing with good vibes, and then one of the guys grabs a cheering kid and beams, shouting, "You're doing an amazing job." Watching kids and adults celebrate side by side makes Lilaris's heart glow warm inside, and she can't stop thinking everyone here is genuinely good. She whips around to Red and tells him, "Step up, give those kids even more praise for everything they've done." But Red just freezes in front of the screen, stunned into disbelief, calling it straight up incredible. Then he fires off, "Was this contest really your idea, Alice?" And she confirms it was. He shoots her a look packed with respect, admits he never would have thought of something like this, and declares her idea is medal-worthy, no question. Lilaris suddenly goes quiet, lost in memories of her past life, watching, day after day, how breathtaking light can be. So she gets it around here. Everyone treats light magic like it's useless, which makes it totally natural that he never even thought to use it for his art. Suddenly, Alfred leans in way too close, brushing right up to her face, then rests a hand on her head and murmurs a gentle "thank you." He lands the move out of nowhere, and she freezes, blushing hard as she snaps at him to stop while he smirks and keeps teasing like, "Is your heart racing or what?" Red steps forward and fires up the whole group, letting them know they crushed it on the contest. He keeps the compliments rolling, telling the kids he's honestly stunned they managed to pull off something this amazing. And in the background, Alice is still flustered, but the kids and Martha are radiating, totally glowing with joy, beaming like proud stars who just got recognized. Red shot a finger upward and declared, "Since this is the real deal, I'm about to name the official Guildmasters Award winner." One of the kids squints, clearly lost, and blurts, "Wait, what even is a Guildmasters Award?" So, the Red breaks it down for them, saying it's all about one thing: they're handing out prizes for the coolest creations they made. He leans in toward Alice and whispers, "Check this out." And then he scans the glowing art plastered across the walls. And yeah, admitting it, this place is pure masterpiece. But there's one thing that absolutely steals the spotlight. He snatches up a sword forged from light, declares it's downright exceptional, then laughs like, with a blade like this, no monster stands a chance. One of the boys nearly snaps, jabbing at his own chest and screaming that the sword's the one he forged himself. The red hands beams as he hands the Guildmaster's award to the kid who forged that sword, grinning and shouting, "Congratulations," right as the kid reaches for the prize he's about to take. All the other kids swarm in for a closer look, going wild over how insanely cool that medal is, as they blurt that it looks absolutely amazing. Martha's just as hyped, she's cheering him on, telling him how insanely lucky he is, and practically begging him to let her get a close-up look at that award. Red swoops into action, shoots his hand up like a signal, and announces that the Alice Award handout is about to begin. Everyone's stunned, like, wait, there's more. But Alice just flashes a grin and tells them, "I never said there was only one award." She hands Sarah the next prize for the cute bunny, and with a huge congratulations, Sarah's face lights up like a spark in the dark. The fun won't quit. Red points out to John that he's stepping up to tell everyone the big guy will choose the next winner. John pauses for a split second, then points straight at a cute little meat heart, saying, "That one I want it," and the kid who made it lights up like he just won the biggest prize. As every prize gets handed out, Red scoots closer and leans in hard, asking Alice straight up if she really has enough medals to pass to everyone. Alice doesn't even blink. She just tells him, like it's nothing, that, yeah, she does have a reaction, especially when they pulled off all of this in just one single day. Lilyrus beams at the group and asks Red with a grin, "Don't you think everyone deserves to be recognized?" Red pauses for a split second as it clicks in her head, realizing her argument is dead on, and he points out that they're running low on awards, then sprints upstairs to call for backup and drag in a whole new batch of people. Liliaris watches him walk off and blurts out that it's seriously thoughtful of him, while the rest of the guild keeps churning. She just can't stop staring at the art, like this one adventurer who's totally obsessed with a constellation drawing. Everyone nearby can't stop talking about the details, how smart it was to aim the light so it slams right onto the ceiling. A couple stands beside a blazing heart, and the guy can't help but gush about how insanely romantic it is to use lights like that for a confession. Another guy just exhales in relief, saying he's thankful nobody else grabbed his personal favorite piece yet. Down the way, a man starts spiraling, yelling about how that kid cranked out a mountain of light orbs in under 2 minutes. The kid just flashes a grin and says he's done it all with a paper drawing. Then he leans in and tells his big brother, "Watch what I do next." The kid points at the wall and snaps at the lights to vanish, and the whole grid of glowing orbs jitters and shifts like it's obeying him. Everyone watching freaks out. People are yelling that it's unreal, and they keep demanding to know if he's really just copying a sketch someone made on paper. Lilyrus just freezes, totally stunned, thinking this kid is a straight-up genius, because she never in a million years would have dreamed of doing something like this. She starts daydreaming about the future, convinced that if they keep building with this tech, they'll team up someday to create massive screens together. Her thoughts sprint like crazy light, painting the night sky, maybe even flashing holograms of another world, like dragons, just to show off. Lilyrus smirks to herself, already picturing the chaos, and laughs. Then she glances over at Red. A woman nearby was completely moved by what she was seeing, and she couldn't stop herself from saying she never thought she'd get to witness something this wonderful. She strides up to Red, grabs his attention, and asks for a minute, then it makes it crystal clear she needs to talk with him in private. Lilyrus suddenly loses it, shoots back in a flustered shout, and demands what the big deal even is. She tries to laugh it off, claiming the magic made her slip and that it only happened because he actually called her his wife. Kai yanks the Lilyrus out of her thoughts and snaps, "Are we finally done for today?" She stares at him, shocked that he'd even ask, but she flashes a quick smile, declares the quest is officially over, and tells everyone it's time to head home. Kai grins, waves his hand, and agrees on the spot. And then as Red storms away, it hits you he's even more clueless about what's going on than anyone ever guessed. Lilyrus strolls along like it's no big deal, smiling to herself because, honestly, she wouldn't care which way this turns out. Right nearby, the guys are just vibing. One cracks that he's only there for the muscles, and the other swears he'll stay out of his favorite person's private life. Lilyrus gets swept back into her feelings again, and the second she thinks about Red, wonder hits her like a wave, wondering if he drops those same lines on anyone else too. Right before Kai snaps, calls out to her, and demands her attention.